Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Before the spiritual energy of rebirth is revived, invest in the future empress. Chapter 71. After hanging up the phone, Yi Zan called Lin Shu again. Dean Lin, I want you to help me with something tomorrow. Lin Shu asked suspiciously. Are you asking me to help? What are you trying to do? Yi Zan smiled and said. Nothing, it's Mengli's birthday tomorrow. I want to arrange a grand birthday party for her. At that time, I will let my sister take Mengli away, and we will decorate the entire college. How about it? Lin Shu immediately said. Are you crazy? Su Mengli is the baby of our college, but how will others see it if we use the entire college to arrange a birthday party for Su Mengli? Others also want to celebrate their birthdays in school. Should I, as the dean, agree or refuse? Yi Zan said directly. This is not a problem. I just want to borrow the college's venue and staff. I didn't say it doesn't cost money. Lin Shu immediately said, money? Do you think we are short of money? We are a great university in Modu. How could the Awakener Academy hold a birthday party for a student just for money? Quote. Yi Zan smiled and said, you don't lack money, but what about spiritual stones? Tomorrow, Mengli's birthday party, if the academy is willing to cooperate with me, I am willing to pay 200 spiritual stones as the price of renting the venue. What do you say? Lin Shu said again, this is not about spiritual stones, it's a matter of principle, you know. The school has its own rules. 500. Deal. Don't worry, tomorrow I will mobilize all the faculty and staff and all the teachers and students to cooperate with you to ensure that your girlfriend has a grand birthday party. But you kid, you don't take spiritual stones seriously, right? Yi Zan said lightly, there's no way, there's nothing else, but there's no shortage of spiritual stones. Okay, anyway, don't worry tomorrow, I'll cooperate with everything. Thank you, Dean Lin. Don't thank me, I'm also looking at the face of the spiritual stones. Lin Shu told the truth. Early the next morning, Yi Shui found an excuse and took Su Mengli away from school. As soon as the two left, Lin Shu mobilized the entire school. Listen, everyone, today is Su Mengli's birthday. At the request of Yi Zan, all of us in the school have to celebrate Su's birthday. This morning, everyone worked together to set up the birthday party. A female student was a little dissatisfied and said, Dean Lin, I just had my birthday the day before yesterday, why didn't anyone celebrate it for me? Lin Shu said indifferently, that's because you don't have a boyfriend like Yi Zan. For this birthday party, Yi Zan paid 500 spirit stones and rented the venue of our college. It's only right for us to help him set up. In addition, all those who participate in the arrangement will receive a reward of 5 credits. Okay, time is running out, everyone hurry up. After hearing this, the girl was speechless. 500 spirit stones, even if she sold her whole family, she couldn't come up with so many spirit stones. No one likes to be favored, even if Su Mengli is an SSS level genius, but since she got this opportunity with spirit stones, no one can say anything. Next, the whole school was in motion, going to the corresponding stores to buy balloons, ribbons, background boards and other decorations for birthday parties. The style of the entire school was also changing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The atmosphere of the originally solemn school became a lovely pink system, with balloons and ribbons hanging everywhere. Even the big words on the school gate, which originally read, Modu University Awakener College, were now covered with 32-inch aluminum foil text, Happy 18th birthday to Su Mengli. Everyone was busy and nervous. Finally, at more than 11 o'clock, everything was arranged. After a short rest, everyone waited for Su Mengli's arrival. Finally, at 12 o'clock, Su Mengli and Yi Shui came back. Yi Shui noticed the changes in the school at first sight, so she immediately covered Su Mengli's eyes. Mengli, close your eyes first, someone has prepared some surprises for you. Su Mengli was stunned for a moment, nodded slightly, and then, with Yi Shui covering her eyes, walked into the school. Then, Yi Shui let go of her hand. What she saw was a scene of lights and decorations, balloons and ribbons everywhere. The entire school was carefully decorated as a birthday party. Then, the whole school, from Dean Lin Shu to all the ordinary students, began to sing, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. They sang and clapped their hands rhythmically, coordinating very well. At the same time, balloons of various colors fell from the sky, and the picture was very beautiful. In the sound of music, a person wearing a panda plush doll pushed a birthday cake over. The birthday cake was more than 1 meter high, with 18 candles on it and the words, "Happy Birthday," written on it. Then, Yizan's voice came from the plush doll, "Mengli, happy birthday to you." Su Mengli was so excited that tears almost came out when she heard this voice. She never thought that her 18th birthday would be so wonderful. She was very grateful for the congratulations of hundreds of people, and Yizan's appearance made her even more moved. At this time, Yizan had already pushed the birthday cake in front of Su Mengli. Then, he opened his arms and hugged Su Mengli. Su Mengli's eyes were red. She was so excited at the moment that she couldn't care less about being shy, and she put her whole body into Yizan's arms. Yizan felt Su Mengli's soft and delicate body. He didn't have any charming thoughts in his heart. All he had was endless warmth and love. The deep love gathered in his heart and finally turned into 5 words. Dream, Li, I love you. As soon as Yizan said these words, the staff and students of the Awakening Academy immediately began to applaud vigorously, and the atmosphere was simply amazing. When Su Mengli heard these 3 words, she felt like she was melting. She didn't know where she was or what she was thinking. She just pressed herself closer to Yizan, as if she wanted to wrap her whole body around her. The body was rubbed into Yizan's body, as if it became a part of Yizan. And Yizan also heard the long-lost prompt again. Congratulations to the host, your partner Su Mengli's favorability has increased to 80 points. Please keep up the good work. Yizan noticed that the system prompt changed to a partner instead of a friend. She was indeed the one who was different, and even the system knew it. The favorability level has only increased by 10 points, and the talent cannot be improved. However, Yizan is not surprised. Things like favorability are inherently more difficult as the years go by. Now that it can increase by 10 points, Yizan is already very satisfied. The two hugged each other for a long time before finally separating. Then, Yizan said, Mengli, please make your birthday wish. Su Mengli listened and nodded. Looking at the birthday cake in front of her, she said silently in her heart, I hope he and I can be together forever and never be separated. After the wish was completed, Su Mengli and Yizan blew out the candles together. Then, Dean Lin Zulin stepped forward to help cut the huge birthday cake and share the cake with everyone. At the same time, some people who had a good relationship with Su Mengli, such as Yi Shui, Qi Yu, etc., gave birthday gifts that they had prepared, and Qin Heng also gave them. He and Su Mengli were just ordinary classmates, but he and Yizan were close buddies. Yizan gave him the cold iron pig-killing knife, and it also gave him a better understanding of his own abilities. He regarded Yizan as a close friend, and Su Mengli was his sister-in-law, so of course he had to give him a copy. A gift. After everyone had given it away, Yizan took out the pet egg and said, Mengli, this is my birthday gift to you. If you put a drop of blood on it, a little pet will hatch. Try it. The pet egg Yizan took out was about the same size as a basketball. It also had some golden patterns on it and looked quite beautiful. Su Mengli stretched out her index finger and bit it gently. Then, a drop of blood dropped on the pet egg. The pet egg's shell slowly cracked, and a claw burning with red flames broke out of the shell. Soon, the whole pet appeared in front of everyone. It was a bit like a cat, but it had a single horn on its head, its whole body was burning with red flames, and it had red and white lines on its body. It seemed to be born with the ability to fly. After breaking its shell, its body immediately floated. It rolled in the air, then jumped on Su Mengli's shoulder, and used its furry head to cup Su Mengli's neck, looking quite intimate. Su Mengli reached out and stroked the little pet and said, It's so cute, Yizan, thank you. At this moment, Lin Shu also stepped forward and said, Where did you get these weird things? This little guy has great potential. Lin Shu was not weak in strength. He could vaguely feel that the flames on this little guy seemed to be somewhat similar to Su Mengli's abilities. Although it is not as strong as Su Mengli, it should be at the SS level. If such a pet grows up in the future, it will also be a powerful boost to Su Mengli. Yizan listened to Dean Lin's words and smiled mysteriously, this is a secret. At this moment, the system prompt sounded in Yizan's head. The pet egg hatched successfully, and the host partner obtained the SS level Red Lotus Red Flame Beast. This mysterious pet egg is really magical. The appearance of the pet it hatches will be determined according to the will of the person who hatched it, and its abilities are also related to the ability of the person who hatched it. The ability of this Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast is related to Su Mengli's Red Lotus Karma Fire. Therefore, the flames on its body cannot hurt Su Mengli. At the same time, its appearance is mainly that of a cat. This is because Su Mengli had a cat when she was a child, and she was obsessed with it, so it was like this. It can be said that the pet hatched from the mysterious pet egg is definitely the most suitable pet. It is strange that Su Mengli doesn't like it. Su Mengli played with the Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast for a while, and then said, "It's so cute. Give it a name." Yizan looked at the Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast and said, "Look at its whole body being red. How about calling it Zhao Hong?" As soon as Yizan said this, the Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast suddenly opened its teeth and claws at Yizan, seeming to be very dissatisfied. However, the next moment, Su Mengli slapped the Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast on the head, and then scolded, "Don't be harsh on him. From now on, you will be called Zhao Hong." If the Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast bared its teeth and claws at others, Su Mengli would definitely not say anything and might even think it was cute. But Yizan was different. It didn't matter whether you were a human or a beast. If you dared to be cruel to Yizan, you would have to bear the consequences of the Empress, of anger. The Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast was slapped, meowed twice, and then lay pitifully on Su Mengli's shoulder, saying that he understood and would never dare to do it again. The awakened ones in the college, as well as other faculty and staff, looked at this scene with obedient eyes. These male and female evil spirits were too protective of each other. This Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast is so cute and full of cuteness. I'm afraid a girl will take good care of it. It's afraid of falling when she holds it, and it's afraid of melting if she holds it in her mouth. Su Mengli also likes it quite a lot. From the moment she saw the Red Lotus and Red Flame, you can see it in the beast's eyes. However, such a cute Red Lotus and Red Flame Beast was slapped in the face just because it bared its teeth and claws at Yizan, and it also had a very frustrating name, Zhao Hong. Everyone must be careful in the future. Su Mengli, an SSS level awakener, seems to be quite stingy, especially when it comes to matters related to Yizan. Don't accidentally offend Yizan and be beaten by Su Mengli. To hold a grudge. In the next 3 days, Yizan and Su Mengli took a good rest. When it came to practice, they had to be relaxed and not too tense. The college had a 3-day holiday. The two of them ate, drank, watched movies, and walked Zhao Hong. They had a very relaxed and comfortable life. 3 days passed quickly. The third batch of awakened people, college students, who had completed the awakening test and met the conditions, were transferred from the ordinary campus to the Awakened Academy. The number of students in the Awakened Academy almost doubled. That afternoon, Yizan and Su Mengli had just returned from walking Zhao Hong. In the past few days, Zhao Hong had grown very fast. Her body was bigger than before, and her red hair was becoming more beautiful. "Mengli, are you worried about something?" Su Mengli thought for a moment and said, "In the past few days, my parents, Su Guodong and his wife called me several times, but I didn't answer." Yizan said directly, "That's what you should do. Why bother with them?" Su Mengli frowned slightly and said, "They sent me text messages and threatened me that if I didn't answer their calls, they would expose me online and say that I was unfaithful and unfilial, and ruin my reputation." A hint of coldness flashed in Yizan's eyes, and he said, "Did they really say that?" Su Mengli nodded and said, "What should I do now? If they really expose it, I'm afraid it will not only affect me, but also the reputation of the college." Yizan thought for a moment, and then said, "I'll find Dean Lin about this matter. He will handle it. Don't worry, I guarantee that they won't dare to harass you in the future." Before, Yizan, an A-level awakener, was targeted by the admissions office because he was too close to Su Mengli, who was at the SSS level. Yizan finally convinced this group of people with his cheating strength, but don't think that this group of people is easy to deal with. Su Mengli, a genuine SSS level awakener, the pillar of Daxia's future. Now, Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan are actually using this method to deal with Su Mengli without knowing the consequences. Yizan believes that Lin Shu will let them know what it means to consider the overall situation. When Su Mengli heard Yizan's words, she immediately breathed a sigh of relief. She could solve all other matters, but the only thing involving Su Guodong and his wife was that she needed Yizan to help her make a decision. The troublesome matter was solved and Su Mengli was in a much better mood. Seeing the opportunity, Yizan put his arms around Su Mengli's slender waist and whispered something in her ear. After hearing Yizan's words, Su Mengli's ears turned red with embarrassment, but she nodded lightly. Yizan's heart was filled with excitement, and his hands were ready to reach out to some indescribable part. The atmosphere in the dormitory also became ambiguous. However, at this moment, the dormitory door was knocked hard, and a somewhat irritable voice sounded outside the door. "Why are you closing the door in broad daylight? Check the dormitory." Yizan was about to attack second base when he was startled by the sudden movement. Su Mengli was also startled and stood up in a hurry. Then, Yizan suppressed his anger, stood up and opened the door, only to see several tall and strong boys in black suits standing at the door. These people were uniformly dressed in black suits and white ties, looking menacing. Yizan looked at these people and said in an unhappy tone, "Who asked you to check the bed?" After hearing this, a boy stared at Yizan with dissatisfaction and said, "Why are you talking? You don't understand any rules, so you call me senior. We are from the student union, and this is our life department director Zhang." Then, standing among the 6 people, the fat minister Zhang looked at the dormitory, then pointed at Yizan and said, "You boy, you are a bit capable. There are actually girls in the dormitory and you even have pets. You were living a pretty cool life when you were young, weren't you? Do you know how many school rules and disciplines you have violated?" Quote. Yizan looked at the other person pointing his finger, looking like a big brother in society. His expression suddenly changed, and he slapped his hand away. "Don't point at me here. Which school rule says that there can't be anything in the dormitory? Girls, you're not allowed to keep pets. Are you very lenient?" Minister Zhang was immediately angry. He was a junior student, and he had been prospering in the student union until he became the minister he is today. He has great power, which makes him very proud. Every year when new students come to the school, Minister Zhang has to show off his authority as a minister and give those students a blow. Every year is no exception. But this year, the Academy of Awakened Ones appeared in Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Although Minister Zhang was as tall and fat as a fat pig, he actually awakened A-level powers. At the same time, a group of cadres from the Life Department entered the Academy of Awakened Ones. As soon as they came to Awakener College, they wanted to establish their prestige so that their reputation as the Minister of Student Union Life Department could be established in Awakener College. Therefore, they directly carried out a bed check operation. Although the Awakeners in other dormitories are not low in talent, they are only freshmen after all. Although their strength can crush them, they are somewhat afraid of the junior student union leaders. This makes Minister Zhang and others even more proud. What about the Awakened Ones? Are you still obedient in front of my Minister of Life Department? Be obedient, call the ministers and seniors, and clean up well. Unexpectedly, there would be such a thorn in the side like Yizan, who didn't take them seriously at all. Minister Zhang suddenly said angrily, "You dare to attack me? I think you don't want to hang out at Shanghai University, right? You." Before Yizan made a move, Su Mengli couldn't stand it any longer. These people simply didn't know what to say. Not only did they disturb her from being intimate with her sweetheart, but they were so arrogant, they were looking for death. She snorted coldly, and Zhao Hong took action directly. Its speed was like lightning, rushing towards the 6 cadres of the Student Union Life Department, and then clawed at their bodies mercilessly. Xiao Hong is only in his infancy and is still very weak. However, it depends on who he is compared with. It is still very easy to deal with a few guys who have just awakened and have average talents. Wherever its claws passed, a large piece of clothing was immediately burned off, and the skin on the body was torn. If it touched the head or hair, the hair would be burned away and the scalp would be burned. In just a few minutes, dozens of different scorch marks were left on these people's bodies, and the original domineering look of their black suits and white ties completely disappeared. There was also Minister Zhang, who originally had a slicked back hair. Zhao Hong hit his hair several times, causing half of his head to become bald. The bald part was still stained with blood. He looked like a bald dog, which was very funny. Their screams were loud, and such a loud movement naturally alerted other people in nearby dormitories, who came out to watch the joke. Several students were frightened by Minister Zhang's aura just now, and now they feel very angry. The other student is just a few grades above them. In terms of talent and strength, he is not as good as themselves. Why should we be afraid of them? Therefore, these students picked up apples, eggs, banana peels, etc., and threw them at the embarrassed student union leaders. Minister Zhang and others fled in panic. When they reached the door, Minister Zhang shouted loudly, "You are rebelling. Just wait for me. I will report to the school leaders and I will expel you." Ah! Minister Zhang couldn't finish what he said, because Xiao Hong chased him out and grabbed Minister Zhang's butt with a claw. The flames attached to Xiao Hong's claws burned away all the pants on Zhang's buttocks, including his underwear, revealing a plump black butt. Zhang's body hair was very hairy, and his black curly hair was directly burned by the small red flame. Minister Zhang suddenly let out a miserable scream, jumped up holding his buttocks, and fell heavily to the ground. He shouted miserably, save me quickly." Several of Minister Zhang's capable subordinates were very capable and did not give up on Minister Zhang at the critical moment. One after another, they kicked Minister Zhang hard in the crotch to help him put out the fire. With everyone's concerted help, Minister Zhang's fire was finally put out. However, Minister Zhang's face turned pale, he was lying on the ground in a state of anger, and he passed out from the pain. Early the next morning, Minister Zhang and a group of people knocked on the office door of Lin Shu, the dean of the Academy of Awakeners. Minister Zhang walked in a weird and twisted posture, like a woman who had just lost her virginity, which was quite funny. As soon as he entered the door, Minister Zhang burst into tears. "Dean Lin, you have to make the decision for us." Lin Shu was looking at the spiritual stone quota issued by the top management. Because Yi Zan and Su Mengli were there, the spiritual stone quota of the Academy of Awakeners of Magic City University was not at the top, but it was pretty good. When the Hidden Dragon list is officially opened, if Yi Zan and Su Mengli can be at the top, the resource quota of the Awakened Academy will be increased again. Moreover, Yi Zan, a weirdo, also provides the college with 3,000 spiritual stones every month. Although it is a loan that has to be repaid in 5 years, it is still very cost-effective. Lin Shu felt a little emotional. Fortunately, Taiku University had recruited these two geniuses. Otherwise, they would have been surpassed by other schools. Thinking about it, Lin Shu closed the document, looked up at Minister Zhang, and said, "What's wrong with you? What happened to your hair?" Minister Zhang said pitifully, "Dean, you really have to make the decision for us. We checked the bed yesterday and met someone." Lin Shu stretched out his hand and interrupted, "Stop for a moment. Are you checking your bed? Who asked you to check your bed? I didn't even say anything. Why are you checking your bed?" Minister Zhang explained. "Dean Lin, this is the rule of our student union. Freshmen who have just arrived will be checked by the Life Department. This is the rule of Shanghai University, even the Academy of Awakeners is no exception." After hearing this, Lin Shu looked at Minister Zhang for a few seconds. "What are the rules of Shanghai University? I do not know how. Is this your own rule?" Lin Shu originally wanted to reprimand the other party, but seeing that the student was burned really badly, especially the hairstyle, it was almost disfigured. Therefore, Lin Shu said, "Okay, just check the bed." "How could this happen?" Minister Zhang cried and cried. "We originally did a good job in the investigation, but we found a guy named Yi Zan. That guy went too far. He didn't say there was a girl in the dormitory and even kept a pet. We just said a few words to him, but not only did he not cooperate with the rectification, he also let his cat attack us. The injuries on our bodies were caused by being scratched by that cat. That cat went too far. My buttocks were burned red. If you don't believe me, look at it, Dean Lin." Quote. Minister Zhang of the Life Department said, taking off his pants directly in front of Lin Shu. Lin Shu's expression suddenly changed and he stopped him. "Stop. You don't have to take off your clothes. I know what's going on. I'll call him and ask him to come over. You guys can confront him in person, okay?" Minister Zhang's face changed. "Dean Lin, the injuries on my body cannot be faked, so there is no need for a face-to-face confrontation, right? Like this, bad students with corrupt moral character and unscrupulous behavior should be expelled, lest they tarnish the reputation of Shanghai University. By the way, the girls in his dormitory are also not good people. They blatantly entered the boys' dormitory. Our Shanghai University is a place for learning, not a place for them to have love. If she gets pregnant and gives birth to a child, it will be a scandal for our Shanghai University, and both of them must be expelled. Quote. After hearing what Minister Zhang said, Lin Shu laughed angrily and said, "You mean, not only do you want me to fire Yi Zan, but you also want me to fire Su Mengli?" Minister Zhang didn't notice that Lin Shu's tone was wrong. He still said confidently, "Yes, this Yi Zan has gone too far and must be expelled. As for that Su Mengli, if he is willing to admit his mistakes and repent, he will be put on probation." Lin Shu thought about it seriously, and then said, "Okay, that's good. You are the one who will take the lead in this bed check, right?" "Yes, I am the Minister of Life, so of course I will take the lead." Lin Shu said lightly, "Okay, from now on, you are expelled and you can make a living on your own. As for the 5 of you, you will be recorded as a major demerit and placed on probation." As soon as Lin Shu said these words, Minister Zhang and others suddenly lost their beauty. Minister Zhang was shocked and said, "Dean Lin, did you say something wrong? Why should you fire us?" Lin Shu's expression changed and he said, "Why? Okay, then I'll tell you why. Su Mengli is an SSS level awakener. There are currently no more than 5 awakeners of this level in China. She is the face of our Academy of Awakeners at Mordu University. You want me to expel Su Mengli? Are you funny?" Quote. Minister Zhang's face changed. "I'm sorry, Dean Lin, I didn't know about this, we were wrong." Lin Shu waved his hand and said, "Don't say sorry yet, there is Yi Zan, he is also a super genius in the academy, his talent is no less than Su Mengli. Even at present, 1/3 of the college's training resources are provided by Yi Zan to the college. The 2 of them are a couple. Not only me, the dean, but even the top officials of the country hope that the 2 of them can have children as soon as possible and give birth to a few geniuses, which will increase the chips for human beings to win against alien beasts in the future. They can give birth to children, which is something that the whole world is looking forward to. It's better for you to go and check some dormitory on your own initiative, disturbing other people's births. Can you bear this responsibility? If because of your disturbance yesterday, you lost the opportunity for a little genius to be born, then you are sinners of mankind. How can we, the Shanghai University, accept sinners? You can get out, and the rest of you, please be more honest with me from now on. When you meet Yi Zan and Su Mengli, you'd better keep your tail between your legs and be a good person, otherwise, you can get out at any time." Quote. A-level awakeners are the mainstay of Shanghai University. Since they are the mainstay, it means there are many of them, and Lin Shu is not short of this one. Moreover, the talent of an awakened person is one thing, and strength is more important. In the future, an awakened person who has grown up and reached 100% development will be able to guard a city. He is powerful and deserves respect. However, not every A-level awakened person can grow up. The growth process requires a large amount of resources, and at the same time, age issues must also be considered. The older you get, the harder it is to improve your ability development. At present, for the entire country, resources are far scarcer than talent. Therefore, since Minister Zhang, who is just an A-level person, has made such a big mistake, let him be punished. Lin Shu is not worried about Minister Zhang growing up. Cultivation requires resources, a lot of resources. In Modu University, the spiritual stone resources allocated by the state are less precious in the hands of students. However, you can try it after leaving the college. At present, apart from the country and universities, who else can obtain spiritual stones? Minister Zhang, who left the Academy of Awakeners, will only disappear into obscurity from everyone in the future. If you are lucky, maybe you will be able to achieve something a little bit more than 10 or 20 years later. If you are not lucky, you may be killed in a certain alien beast attack. Minister Zhang turned pale after listening to Lin Shu's words. "Dean Lin, I know I was wrong. Just give me a chance." Lin Shu said coldly, "Get out." This sound was like a thunderbolt from the blue. Minister Zhang felt his head buzzing and his ears began to bleed. His entire body seemed to have been blown head-on by a strong wind of magnitude 10. His body flew sideways, hit the wall of the office corridor, and then fell to the ground. Later, Lin Sukai said coldly, "I don't know what the so-called things are." At this moment, Lin Shu's cell phone rang. He took a look, and the coldness on his face disappeared and turned into a smile. "Yi-zan, what's the matter?" "Dean Lin, are those guys using chicken feathers as arrows looking for you?" Lin Shu said calmly, "You don't have to worry about this matter. That minister was fired by me, and the other few were given major demerits and placed on probation." Yi-zan said calmly, "I don't worry about this matter. I just asked casually. I called mainly because I have another matter." "Oh, what is it?" Yi-zan explained. "You should know about Mengli's parents, right? When I sold my daughter for glory, I couldn't bear it. I spent 4 million to have Mengli sever the parental relationship with them. Now these two old guys regretted it. After calling Mengli and failing to do so, they sent a text message threatening them, saying that they would expose Mengli and ruin her reputation. Dean Lin, you should be very good at handling this kind of thing, right?" Quote. Lin Shu said angrily, "These two reckless people really treat our Modu University like paper. If they weren't Su Mengli's biological parents, I would have dealt with them long ago." However, Yi-zan said, "Dean Lin, who said they are Mengli's biological parents?" "You mean," Yi-zan explained, "my sister secretly had their hair collected, and then did a paternity test. They are not Mengli's biological parents, but are adopted. Logically speaking, the kindness of upbringing is overwhelming. However, the 4 million I gave them is enough to offset this part of the kindness of upbringing. Now they have to push their limits. How to deal with it depends on you, Dean Lin." Quote. After hearing this, Lin Shu said slowly, "I understand, don't worry, no one will harass Su Mengli anymore." After hanging up the phone, Lin Shu called Zhou Cheng to the office and explained a few words. After hearing this, Zhou Cheng said reluctantly, "Those are Su Mengli's parents. Isn't it appropriate to do this?" Lin Shu said lightly, "Yi-zan has already said that he is not his biological parents. What's more, he has spent money to buy out the parent-child relationship. Why do you think Yi-zan spent that money?" "Why?" Lin Shu explained. "With Yi-zan's character and his family's power in Zhongcheng, it is not difficult to deal with Su Mengli's parents. But he chose to spend money, spending 4 million to buy out the relationship, in order to make Su Mengli completely give up on them and no longer have any concerns. In this way, Su Mengli won't have any sadness after getting rid of these old dogs. Besides, you are doing this to protect Su Mengli and ensure the growth of this SSS-level genius. Is it difficult to use your method to handle this matter more quickly and make it an accident?" Quote. Zhou Cheng finally said, "Hey, why do I always think of myself as such a villain?" Lin Shu patted Zhou Cheng on the shoulder and said, "This is your ability. There is nothing you can do. Everything is for the sake of the overall situation. Lin Shu has already reached this point, what else can Zhou Cheng do? I can only carry out the task honestly." After Zhou Cheng left, Lin Shu in the office lit a cigarette for himself, took a deep breath, and sighed, "What a good boy, he is a cruel person. You have to be careful in the future." Lin Shu knew very well that as Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan, as Su Mengli's parents, even if they were adoptive parents, they had the kindness to raise them. Even if they had a quarrel with Su Mengli, no one would dare to touch them. In fact, this was the case in the previous life. Although Su Mengli broke off the relationship with her parents and did not give them any help, the two of them lived well. Even after Zhongcheng fell into crisis, the country arranged for several awakened people to protect Su Mengli's parents, for fear that something would happen to them and affect Su Mengli. But in this life, things are different. Yi-zan gave Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan 2 million each. On the surface, Yi-zan was very generous, even a little silly. But can people like them really be satisfied with just 2 million after Su Mengli's rise to prominence? Impossible. The money Yi-zan gave them was enough to make Su Mengli have no feelings for them. The two of them were 2 million each. They said it was Su Mengli's money for selling her body. In fact, what Yi-zan spent was money to buy her life. 4 hours later, in Zhongcheng, Zhang Sholan was walking on the street carrying a brand-name bag, and wanted to follow a few of her best friends. When she was passing a section of the road, a strong wind blew by. An old billboard that was in disrepair seemed to be blown unstable by the wind, and then fell from the sky with a bang. By coincidence, this huge and heavy iron billboard hit Zhang Sholan's head, causing Zhang Sholan to fall directly to the ground. Her skull was smashed directly, and her brains and blood flowed out. She died on the spot, and there was no way to save her. Several of Zhang Sholan's old best friends were shocked, and they all screamed. Half an hour later, an Audi car was driving on the road. The driver was Su Guodong. In the back seat of the car were his new family members, Chen Lan, and Chen Lan's son. The family of three seemed to be enjoying themselves and living a good life. Of course, the reason why they are so cool is because they got 2 million from selling Su Mengli. I just heard Chen Lan say, "Is it possible for your daughter to live there? Didn't you say that you can find a way to get another amount of money from her? Our big villa depends on your daughter." Su Guodong promised. "Don't worry, I will definitely do what I say. Let me tell you, my daughter's talent is quite awesome." The people in the admissions office at that time even showed it to Thompson Yippen and the Courtyard House in Beijing. Why? After hearing this, Chen Lan also said with envy, "If I had known this, you shouldn't have severed the father-daughter relationship with her." Su Guodong said shamelessly, "So what if we break up? If she dares to refuse my conditions, I will ruin her reputation." Chen Lan said excitedly, "Then how much do you want to prepare this time?" Su Guodong said with greed in his eyes, "I want 100 million. As long as she gives me 100 million, I will pretend that I have never raised this daughter, and I will not count on her in the future." Chen Lan frowned and said, "Isn't 100 million a bit too little? How about 200 million? In the co-pilot, Zhou Cheng really couldn't stand listening anymore. His original targets were Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan. After dealing with these greedy old dogs, the matter was over. But when he found Su Guodong was driving. He wanted to cause an accident and only kill one person, which was a bit troublesome, so he was looking for an opportunity. But while he was waiting, listening to the conversation between Su Guodong and Chen Lan, he suddenly felt that since the family was so close and harmonious, wouldn't it be too cruel to just get rid of Su Guodong? A family should be neat and tidy. Just be a good person and send them all on their way. Thinking of this, Zhou Cheng, who was in a ghost state, directly reached out and grabbed Su Guodong's steering wheel, and then turned it sharply. At this moment, Su Guodong's car was driving across a bridge. Zhou Cheng suddenly turned his steering wheel 90 degrees. The speeding car suddenly hit the guardrail of the bridge. Because the speed was too fast, the car directly hit the guardrail, then fell freely in the air for a few seconds, and finally fell into the water with a plop. The density of steel is far greater than that of water. The car sank to the bottom quickly. Due to the external water pressure, the doors and windows seemed to be welded shut and it was impossible to open them. Su Guodong's family of three struggled in the car, banging on the door, trying to get out of the car, but they were unable to do so. Soon, they drowned in the car. Above the bridge, Zhou Cheng, who was in ghost state, looked at this scene in the air, with a smile on his face. "I will keep your family in order without having to feel the pain of losing a loved one. I am a good person, right? Yi Zan, don't do anything yet. This time, let me show off my performance." Qin Heng looked excited. His weapon is the cold iron pig-killing knife. Of course, in his eyes, it is a pig-killing sword. However, whether it is a knife or a sword, its prefix remains unchanged. It is used for killing pigs. And now, isn't it a very suitable opportunity? In this Nanshan breeding farm, the pigs numbering in the tens of thousands actually mutated and evolved. Led by an unusually strong breeding pig, they launched a brazen attack on the farm employees. None of the staff at the farm escaped, and almost all of them were killed by the pigs on the spot. Fortunately, Modu University responded quickly and immediately mobilized students from the college to encircle and suppress the mutant pigs. Yi Zan listened to Qin Heng's words and said, "Okay, you come first." Qin Heng concentrated his thoughts, and then, as fast as lightning, he rushed toward the alienated pigs with his butcher knife. This herd of alienated pigs is not only large in scale, but the direction of alienation is also very uniform. Their size is 3 to 5 times larger than ordinary farmed pigs. The pig hairs all over the body have evolved into steel thorns, which are indestructible. At the same time, fangs have grown out of the mouth, making it look very fierce. It's a pity that the butcher's knife is specialized in killing pigs. These alienated farmed pigs cannot resist the sharp butcher's knife. However, wherever the butcher's knife passes, the pig heads fly out one after another and fall to the ground. Akyong looked at this scene and was surprisingly angry. He was the genetically best breeding pig in this Nanshan breeding farm. Before the alienation, his weight was twice that of ordinary breeding pigs, and his whole body was full of muscles. At the same time, in terms of his own job, his ability is very good, far above other breeding pigs. Therefore, most of the sows in this breeding farm are from his harem, and most of the pigs for slaughter are from his bloodline. Now Chin Heng is controlling the butcher's knife and his descendants are flying with their heads falling to the ground. How can this be possible? An earth-shattering roar came from Akyong's huge pig mouth, which made everyone in the Awakening Academy feel dizzy. Chin Heng's concentration was interrupted and he was unable to control the pig-killing sword. The pig-killing sword immediately fell to the ground. Then, Akyong rushed towards Chin Heng violently. His momentum was like a rainbow. Chin Heng was startled and hurriedly hid behind Yi Zan. "Brother, I'm relying on you, come on. Fight him head on." Yi Zan looked at Akyong's huge body and felt a little guilty. This thing was much bigger than other alienated pigs. Other alienated pigs are 2 or 3 times the size of ordinary farmed pigs. The pig in front of you is 10 times the size of similar pigs. It is more than 10 meters tall and more than 30 meters long. The other pigs have its a thorn. This pig was covered in black scales, with a pair of long fangs on its mouth, and a pair of huge pig eyes, which looked bright red and very scary. Seeing the pig king rushing towards him, Yi Zan took a deep breath, his arms formed a cross shape, and rushed towards the pig king. Then, Yi Zan's tiny body collided with the huge pig king Akyong, and the ground suddenly made a loud noise, and even the air seemed to be shattered. The terrifying shock wave affected other alienated pigs and other people in the academy. Those with slightly weaker physiques were shocked and fell to the ground, watching this scene in embarrassment. At the same time, everyone was also very shocked. How strong is this guy Yi Zan now? The aftermath of the confrontation between Yi Zan and this pig king actually knocked them down. Isn't this too exaggerated? At this moment, Yi Zan already knew in his heart that the strength of this alienated pig king could only be said to be about the same as his own. The difference was not big, but his own flexibility had to be better than that of his opponent. As long as he kept fighting, victory would be a matter of time. At this moment, the weapon under Pig King Akyong's crotch moved. On the surface, it seemed that its most powerful ability was its huge size and the pair of several meter-long fangs on its mouth, but in fact, this was not the case. Before it was alienated, its most talented place was what it used in its job. It was so talented that it was invincible and hit every shot. This made him the best breeding pig in Nanshan Farm, bar none. After the alienation, this place became its ultimate weapon, and its lethality was terrifying. But seeing the 2 or 3 meter long barrel, slowly adjusting the angle, aiming at Yi Zan's position, it started suddenly. Yi Zan was wrestling with the Pig King Akyong. Who would have thought that this seemingly honest Pig King would actually play dirty? I saw Pig King Akyong's barrel, like Sun Wukong's Rui golden cudgel, instantly stretched dozens of times, and with terrifying force, it directly hit Yi Zan's body. The force of this collision was much more terrifying than the impact of the Pig King just now. With a bang, Yi Zan's body was sent flying for more than 10 meters, and then he fell heavily to the ground. Su Mengli was startled. Yi Zan, are you okay? On the ground, Yi Zan waved his hands and said, I'm fine, let's go together and kill this guy. The power of Pig King Akyong's surprise attack was indeed terrifying, but Yi Zan's dragon elephant prison suppressing body had developed over 20%, possessing the power of 2 dragons and 20 elephants, and was no weaker than the Pig King in front of him. Since the body can exert such terrifying power, it naturally has a stronger ability to withstand beatings. Therefore, he only suffered a lot of pain in his abdomen and suffered some minor injuries, which was nothing serious. Seeing her boyfriend in such a mess, Su Mengli became angry and went into a rage. He controlled the Red Lotus Karma Fire and launched an attack on the Pig King. Others also took action. It's a pity that the Pig King Akyong's defense this time is even stronger than that of the dragon last time. Everyone's attacks are like scratching an itch and are of no use to him. At this moment, the wild boar king was at full strength, and the weapon under his crotch became 50 or 60 meters long, like a golden hoop, and smashed towards the students. At this moment, a embarrassed Yi Zan rushed over. He drew out his dark iron heavy sword, shouted loudly, and then slashed hard at the wild boar king's weapon. There was only a violent sound of golden iron, and Yi Zan was knocked back a few steps. Pig King Aqiang also felt that his invincible artifact seemed to be a little painful. Next, Yi Zan rushed forward again, holding a black iron heavy sword, and began to compete with Aqiang head-on. At this moment, Yi Zan was extremely angry. Anyone who was messed up like this would be angry. He seemed to be tireless, wielding the dark iron heavy sword, and kept fighting with the Pig King, gradually suppressing the opponent. Qin Heng also calmed down and looked for opportunities. As for the others, they used their own abilities to contain other alienated pigs around them so as not to interfere with the battle between Yi Zan and the Pig King. Finally, after Yi Zan defeated the Pig King Aqiang again, Qin Heng found the right opportunity, and with a whoosh of the pig-killing knife, he attacked the Pig King's vital part, the balls. The butcher's knife is extremely sharp and is specially used to kill pigs. Although the weapon of Pig King Aqiang is extremely sharp, the balls are indeed the key point of all males, even Pig King Aqiang is no exception. The butcher's knife cut through the flesh, and then 2 bloody flesh balls the size of basketballs fell off and fell to the ground. The Pig King's weapon, which was indestructible and capable of confronting the dark iron heavy sword, also seemed to have lost all its power in an instant, and directly slumped, hanging limply on the ground. A Chang let out a shrill wail. This time, its pain was even more intense than the time it lost a Gen. It fell into a state of rage, frantically attacking Yi Zan with its fangs and head. It's a pity that without the power of the weapon, Aqiang will not be able to take advantage against the Xuanti heavy sword. Aqiang's madness is just an incompetent rage before the end, and it will have no effect. The back of Aqiang's butt was cut open with a butcher's knife because of the vital parts. It was still bleeding while fighting Yi Zan. It was so miserable. In the end, it fought with Yi Zan for more than 10 minutes and fell to the ground helplessly. The generation of Pig King Aqiang came to an end. However, the victor, Yi Zan, was not so happy. This Pig King was too big. During the battle, pig blood sprayed everywhere. Yi Zan's whole body was covered with dirty blood, as if he had been soaked in blood, and he was in a miserable state. This made him not even have the courage to get close to Su Mengli, so he said from a distance, "Mengli, I'll go back and take a shower first, and you guys stay to clear the place." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan's body turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed towards the nearest bathhouse. Nothing else mattered, he had to take a bath quickly. Yi Zan brought down the Pig King Aqiang. Although the other alienated pigs were large in number, they were not a big threat. Su Mengli's Red Lotus Karma fire was extremely lethal to them. Tens of thousands of alienated pigs, under the indiscriminate bombardment of various abilities by Su Mengli and others, continued to fall down at a speed visible to the naked eye. The situation was basically under control. However, the people who were killed in the breeding farm were it is impossible to come back from the dead. There was nothing Yi Zan could do about this matter. He knew about Hu Fei and the Super King Crab. That's because these two things happened in Zhongcheng, and they happened not long after the spiritual energy was revived. At that time, there were relatively few such incidents, and they were local, so Yi Zan only knew about them. At this time, attacks by alien beasts occurred one after another, and Yi Zan, before his rebirth, was not in the Magic City at this time. Naturally, he didn't know what specific events had happened in the Magic City, and he couldn't prevent them in advance. He could only wait until they happened to remedy them. Of course, this kind of thing shouldn't last long. It won't be long before the country will have a response strategy and arrange relevant measures to minimize possible casualties. In the bathhouse, Yi Zan turned on the faucet, adjusted the water temperature to the highest level, and began to wash, smearing various soaps and soaps on his body desperately. If the soap hadn't tasted so bad, Yi Zan would have wanted to be like Yu Qian's father, eating 3 pieces and washing 3 pieces, so that it would smell good from the inside out. Yi Zan washed for half an hour, not sparing any corner of his body. After washing, he smelled it himself to confirm that there was no peculiar smell, and then went to the cosmetics store. He had never used this thing before, so he bought a bottle of men's perfume and sprayed it on his body. If there was any residual smell, it could at least be used to cover it up. It wasn't until an hour later that Yizan returned to the academy. As soon as he entered, he met Zhou Chang. Just listen to Zhou Chang say, "Yizan, you came just in time. The dean wants to see you for something. You didn't answer the call just now. You can go directly to his office." Yizan heard this and said, "What's the matter? I'll be there right away." Of course Yizan didn't take his cell phone with him when taking a shower, so he didn't see any missed calls from Lin Shu. Soon, Yizan came to the office. Lin Shu raised his eyes and glanced at Yizan and said, "What does your body smell like? Do you also use perfume? You are so girly." Yizan said helplessly, "Okay, I have a reason for everything." "Tell me, what is it?" Lin Shu picked up a newspaper and handed it to Yizan, Zhongcheng Daily, the largest local newspaper in Zhongcheng. There are 2 current news stories on it. A family of 3 was driving for an outing. On the way back, they unfortunately got into a car accident. The car crashed into the guardrail of the bridge and sank into the water. A family of 3, Su, Chen, and Chen drowned. There is also news that a news billboard in Zhongcheng was in disrepair and fell accidentally, hitting a passerby named Zhao. Zhao died on the spot. Yizan looked at it for a while and said, "Dean Lin, you are very efficient." Lin Shu immediately said, "What are you talking about? How could we do such a thing? Is this an accident?" Yizan smiled and said, "Okay, if you say it was an accident, then it is an accident, but what did you tell me to do? Just tell Meng Li directly." Lin Shu frowned and said, "That's not possible. It's up to you to talk about this matter. After all, if you hadn't spent 4 million, the 2 of them wouldn't have suffered such a serious accident. How many arms and legs could have been broken? Category." After Yizan heard this, he immediately cursed, "Dean Lin, you are so heartless. I am doing this to make you less worried. Why do you think it's like I'm inciting you to kill someone?" "Same." Lin Shu said helplessly, "Yizan, you and Meng Li are very close. Sooner or later they will be a family. It is most appropriate for you to give this news. Besides, this matter will have some impact on Meng Li. You are here to comfort her." Yizan could only say, "Okay, let me make it clear first that I will not take the blame for you. I will at most say a few good words for you." Lin Shu smiled and said, "Your words are enough. By the way, come to the cafeteria early in the afternoon and I will have someone arrange something good for you." Yizan asked strangely, "What good thing?" Lin Shu smiled mysteriously, "You will know when the time comes." More than 10 minutes later, Su Mengli arrived at Yizan's dormitory. Previously, those people from the Student Union Life Department were severely punished. They were very honest and did not dare to check the dormitory anymore. Yizan took out the newspaper. "Mengli, look at this." Su Mengli took the newspaper, read it for a while, and said, "Did something happen to them?" Yizan nodded. "Well, you have too much weight in the Academy of Awakeners. There are currently less than 5 SSS level Awakeners in the country. Your growth is very important. For the sake of the overall situation, the Academy has decided to eliminate future troubles for you." Quote. Su Mengli sighed. "They will give birth to me and raise me after all. They each took 2 million from me, you don't owe them anything." Su Mengli smiled and said, "Yes, I don't owe them anything. You are right, but from now on, you are the only one I have. You won't leave me, right?" Yizan said categorically. "Of course, no matter life or death, I will guard you and never leave you." Su Mengli was very moved after hearing this, and then hugged Yizan, and the 2 snuggled together intimately. The ambiguous atmosphere in the room was heating up, and Yizan wanted to try again what he failed to do last time. However, not long after the hug, Su Mengli made a sad face. "Yizan, can you take a shower? I want to endure it, but the smell of pigs on your body is too strong, mixed with the smell of perfume. It's really weird, I can't stand it anymore, vomit." Su Mengli said and started retching. At this moment, she was still a little immature and not as calm as the future empress. After Yizan heard this, he looked at Su Mengli pitifully. "I'm going to wash it right now. You don't mind me, right?" Su Mengli immediately said, "Of course not, as long as you wash it off, it will be fine. Be obedient and wash it quickly." Yizan had no choice but to go to the bathhouse again. This time, he decided not to give up until he rubbed off a layer of skin. After taking a shower, Yizan came to the cafeteria early and met Lin Shu. Dean Lin, you said you had a surprise for me, what kind of surprise was it? After hearing this, Lin Shu clapped his hands and said, Master Zhang, please bring out your masterpiece. Then, Master Zhang from the cafeteria came over carrying a huge steamer. Then, the steamer was opened, and inside the steamer, 2 basketball-sized meatballs were lying there quietly. Master Zhang used exquisite craftsmanship to carve out some beautiful patterns on the meatballs, and the patterns were inlaid with various condiments, which smelled delicious. Yizan looked at the 2 meatballs and his expression suddenly changed. Is this the Pig King's? Lin Shu said proudly. How do you like it? Do you like it? Let me tell you, that Pig King is extraordinary. Before it was alienated, it was already the king of breeding pigs in the Magic City. It was always on target. In just 10 years of pig birth, it had thousands of offspring. After alienation, it became even more talented. Have you ever heard of using shape to complement shape? After taking these 2 pills, your man will be absolutely guaranteed to be virile. At the same time, he will be as productive as a breeding pig. Whoever you ejaculate will get pregnant. What do you think? Quote. Yizan waved his hand and said, Dean Lin, you'd better be a pig like this, I'm not interested. After hearing this, Lin Shu said seriously, are you really not interested? Then I'll eat it. I'm not kidding you. As Lin Shu spoke, he cut off a large piece of meat with a knife and ate it with a fork. While eating, he said, the meat is very juicy and Master Zhang's skill is also very high. It's really good. Yizan suddenly said, you should eat well first. By the way, there should be a hot spring in the Magic City, right? Dean Lin, please recommend a place to me. I'm going to soak in it for a few days. Hot spring. Why do you want to take a hot spring? Yizan said directly. You don't have to worry about this. Anyway, I have to soak it up. Lin Shu thought for a while, took out a card from his body, and said, go to this Yangshengtang hot spring resort. It's opened by a friend of mine. You don't have to spend any money. You can just soak in whatever you want. Yizan took the black gold card from the hot spring resort and said, thank you, Dean Lin. Lin Shu smiled and said, Chengwei, 100 spiritual stones. Yizan sighed. Dean Lin, you have changed. How can you covet a student's spiritual stone? Besides, I just did you a favor today. Lin Shu had no choice but to say, okay, I'll give it to you for free. You threw 500 spirit stones out for your wife's birthday, and now you won't even give me 100. How stingy. Yizan was confident. You already said that she is my wife, but you are not. After Yizan finished speaking, he took Lin Shu's black gold card and left. In the next 2 days, Yizan and Su Mengli practiced normally during the day. At night, they didn't even go back to the dormitory and took a dip all night to eliminate the smell on their bodies. 2 days later, Yizan walked straight to Su Mengli. Mengli, smell it, do I still smell like it? Su Mengli stuffed her whole body into Yizan's arms, sniffing with her delicate little nose. After a while, Su Mengli said, okay, it's completely tasteless. Yizan breathed a sigh of relief, and then pressed his lips directly on Su Mengli's cheek. Su Mengli's face immediately turned red, which was really cute. At this moment, several male and female students were heard arguing not far away. Yi Xuandao. Let's go see what's going on. The 2 of them got closer, listened to a few words, and finally understood. At the beginning, there was some quarrel between Zhao Lei and Yun Mengyao. In his words, Zhao Lei felt that in Awakener Academy, girls are not as good as boys at all. If they really want to fight, they have to rely on boys. Girls are at most a support and foil. Yun Mengyao started to argue with Zhao Lei, and not long after, other boys and girls joined in, and it became a competition between boys and girls. Just listen to Yun Mengyao say, don't you think that us girls are not as good as you boys? What's the use of talking about it? Do you have the ability to do it? The only SSS level awakened ones in the college are all us girls. Zhao Lei was also unconvinced. It's true that Su Mengli is SSS level, but in the previous 2 missions, whether it was a battle with snakes or a decisive battle with pigs, who had the greatest impact? Isn't it Yizan? At this time, Yun Mengyao saw Su Mengli approaching, and she immediately said, Mengli, you came just in time. These guys look down on us girls and say that we are just their foils. You are an SSS level awakener. Tell them, are you a foil? Quote. After hearing this, Su Mengli glanced at Yizan, and then said seriously, where there are flowers, there are green leaves. If it is Yizan, I am willing to be his foil. Zhao Lei smiled proudly. Did you hear that? Su Mengli has already said that she is willing to be the foil. In the era of the awakened, us boys are the protagonists. Yizan listened to Zhao Lei's words and said directly, what are you talking about? SSS level awakened person, who is qualified to let her be a foil? I am not qualified either. She is the daughter of destiny, shining brightly, and the only protagonist of this era. As long as I can stand by her side, it is enough. Quote. Su Mengli said affectionately. I don't know if I can shine so brightly, but you are the only light in my heart. You have always been the one who makes my world colorful. Yizan did not expect that Mengli, the future aloof empress, would be so good at talking about love. He couldn't help but hold Su Mengli in his arms, feeling her heartbeat and body temperature. A few meters away, a group of people who were fighting for men's rights and women's rights suddenly felt full, and the things they were arguing about suddenly became boring. Several red-faced boys and girls who had been arguing before sighed, forget it, it's not interesting. Next, the group gradually dispersed, and Yizan held Su Mengli's hand and prepared to return to the dormitory. Just as he arrived at the door of the dormitory, Yizan suddenly said, Mengli, come with me to the supermarket. What's wrong? Do you need to buy anything? Yizan nodded and said, I'll change the bedding and buy a bottle of air freshener to avoid leaving any smell. Su Mengli nodded and said, okay. An hour later, the young couple went to the supermarket for shopping. Su Mengli picked out bed sheets and bedding for Yizan, just like a couple living together at home, which was quite warm. After a while, they almost bought the things, and the two of them came out to settle the bill. Yizan's money was given to Su Mengli for safekeeping, so it was naturally Su Mengli who paid. After paying, Yizan and Su Mengli pushed the shopping cart through the supermarket's electronic security door and prepared to leave. However, as soon as the two people walked through the electronic security door, a piercing alarm sounded from the electronic security door. The supermarket security guard also quickly ran over following the sound, looking sternly at Yizan and Su Mengli. Just listen to a security guard say, you can't tell, you are young and learn to steal things. If you steal something, hand it over. Su Mengli's expression changed slightly, while Yizan said angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? Who stole your things? The security guard looked like a scoundrel. Why would the alarm sound if nothing was stolen? Su Mengli's face turned ugly. We have paid for everything we bought, and we didn't steal anything from you. The security guard listened and smiled obscenely. You said you didn't steal, so you didn't steal. You want to prove that you didn't steal anything, unless you let us search you. This security guard was very excited at the moment. Su Mengli's figure, appearance, and temperament were all top-notch. This is the first time in his life that he has seen such a beautiful girl. If he could be searched once and take advantage of it, he would be willing to lose a few years of his life. Yizan originally wanted to reason with them, but after hearing these words, he couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to search his girlfriend. Go eat shit. Yizan suddenly took a step forward, and then grabbed the neck of the security guard who wanted to search him with one hand. With a slight force, the security guard was immediately picked up by Yizan's neck. The security guard slapped Yizan's arms with both hands and kicked his feet in the air, but it was completely useless. His face turned redder and redder, like a dying chicken. Another security guard was shocked when he saw it and shouted, "Come here, someone is stealing things and beating people, come here quickly." There were more than just these two security guards in the supermarket. Other security guards followed the sound and ran over. Many customers even came up to join in the fun, and they were surrounded by a tight crowd. At this time, Su Mengli said, "Yizan, let him down first." At this moment, Su Mengli was also very angry. She was wrongly accused of stealing things for no reason, and she even said that she was searched, which was too much. But even if you are angry, as an awakened person, you cannot kill people in public. Even if you really want to take action, you must secretly retaliate afterwards. Yizan listened to Su Mengli's words and let go of the security guard's neck. The security guard fell to the ground, gasping for air and coughing continuously, looking extremely embarrassed. At this time, the supermarket manager had also come over, and he immediately asked, "What's going on?" The security guard who was choked by Yizan complained, "Manager, this young couple not only stole things, but after being discovered, they also beat me. I was almost strangled to death. You have to vent my anger." Yizan looked at the security guard coldly and said, "If you say one more word about stealing, believe it or not, I will tear your mouth apart." The security guard's face changed with fright. "Manager, look, this kid is threatening me. He's really too arrogant." After hearing this, the manager looked at Yizan and Su Mengli and said, "Come to the security room with us. We will investigate whether you stole anything or not." Yizan said coldly, "Go away. It's just a few security guards, do they really think of themselves as police? Investigate clearly. What qualifications do you have to investigate? Mengli, call the police, and call Dean Lin by the way." Su Mengli took out her cell phone and prepared to call the police. When the manager saw this scene, his expression changed and he winked at the security guards around him. Several security guards immediately stepped forward to snatch Su Mengli's mobile phone. Yizan would not tolerate them, so he punched a security guard in the chest. The security guard's body flew out sideways, knocking down 5 or 6 security guards. The manager looked ugly. He knew that things might be a little bad. The security guard who was strangled by Yizan when he asked for a body search was not an ordinary security guard. He was the brother-in-law of supermarket owner Wang Bo, named Fang Hong. Fang Hong is uneducated and unscrupulous, relying on his brother-in-law as the big boss to act unscrupulously. More than half a month ago, Fang Hong came to the supermarket to work as a security guard. He looked for some beauties among the crowd. Once he found a suitable prey, he would ask the people in the supermarket to cooperate and make the electronic security door ring. After that, Fang Hong and several security guards came forward, frightened each other, and then took them to the security room, where Fang Hong personally searched them to take advantage of them. After the search, Fang Hong would take some small things that had been prepared in advance and say that the other party had stolen them, to scare the other party. Girls are generally timid and don't want to cause trouble. Plus, they did find something, so they finally let it go and left aggrieved. Up to now, Fang Hong had used this method to search the bodies of 2 or 3 young girls. This time, when he saw Su Mengli, he was so shocked that he conducted such an operation again. It's a pity that Yizan and Su Mengli are not ordinary people. Fang Hong has hit the wall this time. The security guard originally thought of letting people snatch the phone to prevent Su Mengli from calling the police, and then the big problem would be reduced to a trivial matter. Unfortunately, a few ordinary people looked like paper in front of Yizan. In less than 5 seconds Zhang, all fell to the ground. The manager looked ugly. Even now, he still wants to resolve the matter. "Young man, you should be an awakened person, right? As an awakened person, don't you think it's too much to hurt so many ordinary people? Forget it, for the sake of you being an awakened person, let this matter go. Our supermarket will no longer pursue it. You can leave now, okay?" Quote. Yizan sneered, "Your supermarket will no longer pursue the case. But I want to pursue it. You slandered us for stealing things, and even tried to snatch our mobile phones to prevent us from calling the police. Do you think we can just let it go?" The manager looked ugly. "Don't go too far." Yizan said coldly, "Excessive. What's even worse, you haven't seen it yet." Seeing that the matter was about to get serious, the manager had no choice but to call his boss. Time passed little by little, and 20 minutes later, the police arrived with Lin Shu. Lin Shu strode over. "What's going on? Why are you fighting ordinary people?" Yizan said helplessly. "Dean Lin, the security here accused us of stealing things and even wanted to search Mengli's body. Can I not do anything?" A policeman also said. "Dean Lin, are these 2 your students?" Lin Shu, the dean of the Academy of Awakeners, is very famous in the Magic City. Because of the spiritual energy recovery and too many problems, the police can't do anything and can only ask for help from Lin Shu. Therefore, they all know Lin Shu. Lin Shu affirmed, "Yes, they are students of my awakened college, and they are the 2 best students. I don't believe they can steal things." At this moment, Wang Bo also came over, and he walked over quickly, what is going on? Dean Lin, what is it that involves you? Wang Bo received a call from the manager saying that something happened in the supermarket, so he rushed over immediately. Unexpectedly, he met Lin Shu as soon as he came over. He was naturally shocked. He knew very well who Lin Shu was. It didn't take long from the announcement of the spiritual energy recovery to the emergence of batches of awakened ones. However, before that, it was not that there were no awakened ones. Lin Shu was one of the early self-awakened people. The number of self-awakened people was very small, so their circle was also very small. This Wang Bo was also one of the self-awakened people, so it was normal for him to know Lin Shu. However, his talent is only a level, and his current ability development level is not very high. Far worse than Lin Shu. Lin Shu looked at Wang Bo and said, "Did you open this place?" "Yes, this supermarket is my property," Lin Shu said coldly. "You, a supermarket, are slandering two of the best students of our awakened College of Magic City University for stealing. What do you think we should do?" Wang Bo's expression changed and he said, "Who did this?" When Fang Hong saw his brother-in-law's serious expression, he stood up tremblingly. "Brother-in-law, I was wrong." The smile on Lin Shu's face became even bigger. "It turns out that he is still your brother-in-law. You are not an honest brother-in-law. Is it too unfair for your brother-in-law to be a security guard? Or is it that he should be the security guard? Just have other plans." Wang Bo slapped Fang Hong in the face. "You are useless, why don't you apologize to Dean Lin's students?" However, Lin Shu said, "No need. Let's go." After Lin Shu finished speaking, he turned around and left. Yizan and Su Mengli did not hesitate and followed immediately. Wang Bo's expression changed, and he raised his feet to follow, but in the end he didn't have the courage. Wang Bo knew very well that if Lin Shu was willing to let his students accept the apology, it would mean that nothing major would happen to his brother-in-law. But now, Lin Shu refused. Things were developing in the worst direction, and Fang Hong's fate depended on the status of those two students in Lin Shu's mind. Wang Bo hesitated. Should he try to resist? Or should he lie down and accept his brother-in-law's fate? At this moment, when Fang Hong saw Lin Shu and others leaving, he climbed up and said loudly, "What are you still doing around here? Let's get out of here." That old boy looked so awesome, but that's what happened. I thought there was nothing I could do, but I was still afraid of you, brother-in-law. Wang Bo was still hesitant at first, but when he heard his brother-in-law's idiotic words, he immediately gave up his struggle. "Forget it, let's wait for Dean Lin to speak. Whatever he says, I will do it. And Lin Shu is a ruthless person. If you can't fight with him, you should just lie flat." On the way back to school, Lin Shu said, "Yizan, what do you want to do with that kid? Death or disability, it's your choice." Yizan suddenly said, "How is his brother-in-law?" Lin Shu thought for a while and said, "Ordinary, like me, he is an early self-awakened person. Although he has dealt with some strange beasts, he has an employment relationship with the government. Otherwise, where would he get the money to open a supermarket? I don't have any friendship with him, so you don't have to think about it." Yizan said lightly. "Then die, there is no use keeping such a person. It's obviously not the first time that guy has done this. Keeping him will only harm more people. Now that spiritual energy is recovering and the world is changing, it is better for this kind of person to get on the road as soon as possible." If Lin Shu disagrees, Yizan himself will find a way to send Fang Hong on his way afterwards. Lin Shu was not surprised and said directly, "Okay, leave this matter to me. Don't act rashly, so as not to dirty your hands." Back at school, Lin Shu sat in the office and waited leisurely. Not long after, Wang Bo called, "Dean Lin, I'm lying down. My brother-in-law, I will listen to you how to deal with it." Lin Shu scratched his hair and said, "Do you know who he offended today?" "Your student," Lin Shu said slowly. "The girl he intended to search as one of the only 3 SSS-level awakened people in Daxia." Wang Bo's expression changed drastically. "What?" Lin Shu continued. "Your brother-in-law, I will leave it to you to deal with. Don't play any tricks with me, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences." Wang Bo said honestly, "I know, even if you don't tell me, I won't let him go. If he is alive, he will implicate me sooner or later in the future." Wang Bo understood very well how powerful Lin Shu was, an SS-level awakener. So, How perverted would an SSS level awakener be? When Su Mengli grows up in the future, he will definitely be the pillar of the country in Daxia. His brother-in-law dares to provoke such a person. If he continues to stay, he will only get killed. That night, Wang Bo took Fang Hong to an entertainment club and invited several beautiful girls to eat and drink. They had a great time. In the end, Fang Hong spent all his energy on the two girls, fell into a deep sleep. In the middle of the night, a gust of cool wind blew on Fang Hong, waking him up from his drunken state. He opened his eyes drowsily, and then he saw several hot and beautiful beauties waving to him. Fang Hong was a lustful man, so of course he couldn't help it and rushed over, rolling and crawling. The next second, Fang Hong felt that his feet were empty, and he began to fall rapidly to the ground. Finally, he fell to the ground with a bang and turned into a pile of meat. Not far away, Wang Bo looked at this scene and said, "Brother-in-law, I have done my best to let you have a good time before you die. Don't worry, I will take good care of your wife and children." Wang Bo's ability is to create illusions and control the opponent's mind. The stronger the opponent's will and strength, the smaller the impact of his illusion. Fang Hong's body was drained by alcohol and love, and he had not awakened, so he had no resistance. He walked step by step to the top of a building, and then jumped down, ending his dissolute life. At the same time, the conflict between Su Mengli, Yizan and others in the supermarket was also exposed. This incident was difficult to avoid. There were too many people present at the time, and many people secretly took pictures with their mobile phones. Lin Shu could not force those people to hand over their mobile phones on the spot. He could only contact the relevant departments and made two demands. First, the privacy of Su Mengli and Yizan must be protected. Once someone releases relevant videos, they must ensure that their faces are not shown. Second, the rights and wrongs of this matter must be made clear, and public opinion must not be allowed to attack Su Mengli and Yizan. In fact, even if Lin Shu didn't say hello, public opinion was still biased in favor of Yizan and Su Mengli. Because supermarket stores have always bullied customers, and Yizan and Su Mengli are just ordinary students. Out of empathy, people tend to consider themselves on the weaker side, thinking that the supermarket is being unreasonable and bullying students. In addition, Su Mengli is so beautiful, even with a mask-shaped mosaic on her face. However, you can still see her exquisite figure, flawless curves, slender and straight legs, and her bulging chest. Even if you can't see her face, you know she is a super beauty. Therefore, after the video of the supermarket entrance was released, the comments were very unanimous. Ms. Su is right, the supermarket is really bullying people. The supermarket shop is bullying customers. I believe Ms. Su is right. I'm too lazy to read the content. I support Ms. Su. Why are these stinky security guards searching Ms. Su's body? Let go of Ms. Su and let me search her. The comments were completely one-sided. Wang Bo's supermarket business had dropped a lot, but he didn't dare to resist. Facing the SSS level awakened ones, he could only kneel down. In the boys' dormitory, Yizan was holding Su Mengli's waist and looking at the comments on the internet. Yizan smiled and said, "Look, Mengli, you don't even show your face, but you already have a lot of fans." Su Mengli said directly, "I don't need any fans, you are enough." After Yizan heard this, he felt quite happy in his heart. The existence that no one else could lick was in his arms. This feeling of satisfaction was incomparable. Thinking about it, Yi Xuandao said, "Mengli, why did the electronic security door in the supermarket suddenly ring? Did we really take something and forget to pay?" Su Mengli immediately said, "How could it be? Everything we bought at that time was all in the shopping cart." Yizan said with a bad smile, "There are no absolutes in this world. How about we search each other? You search me first, and I will search you again." When Su Mengli heard this, her face turned red and she was about to bleed. "No." Seeing Meng Li's expression, Yizan stretched out his right hand and said, "If you don't want to search for me, then I will search for you first. There is a bulge in your chest. Is there something hidden there?" Su Mengli said shyly, "No." However, at this critical moment, there was a knock on the door, interrupting the ambiguous atmosphere in the dormitory. Su Mengli stood up in fright, arranging her clothes that were not messy. The knock on the door made Yizan almost jump up in anger. "Do it again." At this time, Chin Heng's voice came from outside the door. Brother, it's bad, something big has happened. Come and take a look. Yizan opened the door with a dark face and stared at Chin Heng. What happened? If this matter is not big enough, I will make something big happen. Chin Heng glanced at the dark-faced Yizan, and then saw Su Mengli with a blush on his face, and immediately knew that he was disturbing Yizan's good deeds. He hurriedly explained, it's like this. Today, a group of uninvited guests came to our awakened college, and they directly launched some challenge to the students of our college. The person leading them seemed to know the dean. They said something to the dean and the dean agreed. Our people, every time we lose, we have to hand over a spiritual stone. So far, we have not won a game, so you must take action, boss. Quote. Yizan's expression changed after hearing this. Who is coming? The dean doesn't care. He also said, okay, let's go over and take a look. Then, Chin Heng took Yizan and Su Mengli to the academy's martial arts field. At this moment, many people gathered in the martial arts arena, including several students. They looked bruised and swollen. They had obviously been punished. Although Dean Lin Shu's expression was not very good, he had no intention of taking action and just stood there, over there. After Yizan and Su Mengli came over, they heard only one voice. Lin Shu, is this the so-called genius that you have spent resources and cultivated? Talent is quite high, but what's the use? Aren't we beaten in actual combat? Don't you think that if you have a very high talent, you can scare the beasts to death by showing off your talent? If there is any serious invasion of alien beasts, it won't be us who will be relied upon. What can your students be used for? Quote. Lin Shu said lightly, it takes time for my students to grow. The man continued, excuse. One step at a time, one step at a time. It takes time for your students to grow, but will the alien beast that is pressing every step of the way give them time? The reason why they can practice here comfortably is because we, the people, are fighting at the front. But it's good now. We don't even get much of the resources we sacrificed our lives for. On the contrary, your students are extremely rich. Why? Quote. As soon as Yizan heard this, he knew what was going on. This thing had happened in his previous life, and it had lasted for a long time. Even if the threat of alien beasts became more and more serious, this contradiction could not be completely eliminated. All awakened people are divided into two types, one is awakened independently, and the other is awakened through the stimulation of the awakening spirit ball. The number of the former is very small, but the initial development degree of the ability of those who awaken independently has reached 10%, and the initial awakening ability is not weak. However, independent awakening completely depends on luck, and no one can decide it. The other is to use the awakening spirit ball to awaken, and then be recruited by major universities, and undergo step-by-step training, absorb spiritual stones, and improve your strength. There was not much difference between the two. For example, Lin Shu was also a self-awakened person and one of the best. However, he was now the dean of the college and led a group of spirit ball awakened people to thrive. However, as major universities established awakened colleges, the country began to gather resources and distribute them to major universities to systematically cultivate awakened talents. At this time, contradictions emerged. The awakened ones in the Awakened Academy are called the Academy. They use spirit balls to awaken, grow step by step, absorb spirit stones, and improve their strength. In society, ordinary self-awakened people are called Zhonghu sects. After self-awakening, they rely on their own abilities to fight against alien beasts, assist relevant departments in dealing with alien beast crises, and have made a lot of contributions. Lin Shu was now a leader of the so-called Zhonghu sect. He was very famous in the circles of Zhonghu sect in Shanghai. Therefore, the supermarket owner knew Lin Shu. Now Lin Shu, under the arrangement from above, served as the dean and became an academic school to train students. However, the people in the Zhonghu school were very dissatisfied. All mining of spirit stones involves considerable dangers. The degree of alienation of the alien beasts near the spirit stone mines is much higher than that of the alien beasts in other places. To open a spiritual stone mine, there are often many casualties, and most of these casualties are paid by the awakened people of the Zhonghu sect. However, when the spirit stone mine they worked hard to build was distributed from above, what they could get was not as much as what the students in the academy received. Of course, the above arrangement also has its own reasons. The awakened people of Zhonghu sect are mixed, and most of them are not very talented. The reason why it was able to exert great effect in the early stage is that the Zhonghu Awakeners awakened independently and had an initial development rate of at least 10%. Their overall talent level is naturally not as good as the Academy of Awakeners at Magic City University, and they will be surpassed sooner or later in the future. Therefore, in the eyes of the senior management, these resources are more suitable for the geniuses of the Awakened Academy. As these geniuses grow up, they become more able to act on their own, increasing the chance of victory for humans against alien beasts. Considering the overall situation, there is nothing wrong with the above arrangement. It is precisely because of this arrangement that Daxia is still standing more than 20 years later. One after another, academic geniuses grew up, guarded a city, and made great achievements in battle. Su Mengli was one of them. At that time, the awakened members of the Zhonghu sect truly realized the foresight of the upper class, and gradually no longer opposed the academic sect. But for the current Zhonghu sect, there is no problem with their resentment. They shed blood and tears to build a spiritual stone mine. But in the end, less than 1/10 was allocated to them, and most of them were arranged by the above to be given to the Academy of Awakeners for the growth of the students in the academy. Lin Shu also knew this very well. He also felt that it was understandable for the awakened people of the Zhonghu sect to have resentments, so now, a group of awakened people from the Zhonghu sect came to the academy to challenge and set rules. If they win a game, they will win a spiritual stone. Lin Shu, a ruthless man, has nothing to say and lets them win these spiritual stones. At this time, Lin Shu noticed that Yi Zan came over. He said directly, "Yi Zan, when this game is over and you come on stage, if you can wear 10 for me, I guarantee that you can walk sideways in the academy from now on." After hearing what Lin Shu said, Yi Zan said directly, "Are you serious?" Lin Shu patted his chest and said, "I, Lin Shu, never lie. Okay, leave this to me." As a reborn person, Yi Zan knew very well that there was nothing wrong with the above strategy. If these resources were really used on the awakened people of the Zhonghu sect, in the future, if the academic geniuses cannot grow up, then the only result for Daxia will be the destruction of the country and the annihilation of the species. Good steel must be used on the blade. The awakened people of the Zhonghu sect are not completely ignorant. They just want to see if any awesome genius will be born with the academic sect occupying so many of their resources. If such a strong person is cultivated, it proves that the academy is right and they are convinced. If they can't prove it, then they will come to challenge every day in the future, winning a wave of spiritual stones every time and taking back what should belong to them. On the ring, an A-level awakener from the Zhonghu sect was fighting back and forth with S-level Yun Mengyao. Although Yun Mengyao's ability level is high, the Zhonghu sect awakened on its own, and its initial development level was 10%. After many opportunities and improvements, the ability development level is now as high as 30%. Moreover, the members of the Zhonghu sect were much older than the academic sect and had more combat experience. Therefore, Yun Mengyao was gradually suppressed, and not long after, Yun Mengyao was kicked off the ring. Then, the challenger came to Yun Mengyao and said, "Where is your spirit stone?" Yun Mengyao was also a happy person, so she took out the spirit stone directly from her body. The other party snatched the spirit stone and said, "Bring it to you. Giving the spirit stone to you is a waste." At this time, Lin Shu said, "Okay, Yi Zan, come on." Yi Zan listened and went directly to the ring. He looked at the Zhonghu faction and said, "I know what you think. You may think that using these resources on us is a waste. But I can tell you with facts, this is not a waste. Whoever wants to challenge me, come up." Quote. After hearing this, a middle-aged man went directly to the ring and said, "Young man, I hope you won't disappoint me." As the middle-aged man spoke, he shouted loudly. Then, the sound of iron chains was heard, and two thick iron chains tens of meters long stretched out from the palm of his hand. The iron chains seemed to be alive, like two poisonous snakes, shooting towards Yi Zan, entangling and strangling Yi Zan's body. Yi Zan suddenly took action and grabbed the iron chains with both hands. Then, the iron chains directly followed Yi Zan's wrists and began to wrap around and around. In just a few seconds, Yi Zan's arms were wrapped by the iron chains. Wrapped tightly. Then, the middle-aged man said, "Let's go." He used his own ability and wanted to use the iron chain to throw Yizan flying. However, Yizan remained motionless, as if he was rooted to the ground. Come here. Yizan exerted force suddenly, and the middle-aged man felt that an unrivaled force was transmitted from Yizan through the iron chain. Then, his body flew towards Yizan involuntarily. When the middle-aged man's body flew closer, Yizan directly grabbed the opponent's collar and threw him off the ring. This time, most of the people arranged by the Zhonghu sect have been awakened independently for about a year, and their ability development level is between 20 and 30%. Therefore, ordinary students are not their opponents. Unfortunately, Yizan is a cheater. His ability development rate exceeds 20%, and his ability level is S level. The gap in strength is naturally obvious. Yizan knew the importance. This group of challengers was actually not wrong. Moreover, they were very measured in their actions before. They just took a piece of spiritual stone. Naturally, Yizan could not make a heavy move. Among the awakened people of the Zhonghu sect, there are many like Lin Shu who can understand the strategies of the upper levels and assist the upper levels in cultivating the geniuses of the academic sect. These people have a big picture and are worthy of respect. And some others who can't understand are also not heinous. Yizan's power must be used on strange beasts and real evil people. The group of people in front of him are naturally not evil. After the middle-aged man was defeated, the Zhonghu sect arranged for another awakener to come on stage. This time, it was an elemental A-level awakener with the ability of Flaming Quagmire. This ability is very interesting. After the opponent used the ability, a large quagmire appeared at Yizan's feet. The quagmire tightly bound Yizan's body. At the same time, flames appeared out of thin air above the quagmire, burning Yizan's body. If Yizan had a pure dragon elephant prison body, although he could resist for a long time with his defense and eventually escape, his clothes would most likely be burned off. There were so many female students in the audience. If Yizan's clothes were burned off, he might not be able to fight anymore. After all, face is still very important. Unfortunately, Yizan was equipped with a witch's cloak, and his resistance to spells was higher than the opponent imagined. I saw Yizan's body leaping hard, powerful strength bursting out, breaking free from the shackles of the quagmire, and then kicked towards the opponent. This kid wanted to embarrass himself, so Yizan naturally wanted to teach him a lesson. Yizan used a clever kick to send the opponent's body flying backwards. In the air, the force burst out, and a muffled sound like a fart was heard. The guy's clothes exploded in the air, turning into countless strips of cloth, flying around. The middle-aged man was also stunned for a few seconds, then covered his front with one hand and his back with one hand, and ran away frantically. In the audience, the male and female students burst into laughter. Some girls covered their eyes and secretly observed through the gaps between their fingers. So, do men look like that? It's so small and exquisite. At this moment, Lin Shu was secretly happy. He could understand the thoughts of the Zhonghu sect, but he hoped to change their thoughts. The crisis facing mankind was not small, and the resource allocation arranged by the state was only for the sake of the overall situation. Now, Yizan defeated the two men in a very short period of time, not only proving his own strength, but also proving that there was no problem with the above arrangement. Of course, Lin Shu had a serious face on the surface. Yizan, be careful with your actions. These seniors are all worthy of respect. Don't be so messy with your actions in the future. Who wants to challenge? Let's continue. Afterwards, 5 or 6 more people were attacked in succession, but the strength gap was too big, and they were defeated by Yizan without any suspense. The number of awakened people of the Zhonghu sect is much smaller than that of the academic sect, and the number of A-level and above is even more limited. Therefore, after Yizan defeated 7 or 8 people, there was no one left to join them. The leader also took a deep look at Yizan, and then said, "It seems that the arrangement above does make some sense. In such a short time, a person like you has been trained. I am convinced. Let's go." Yizan said calmly, "You are so grateful. The real trump card of our college has not been used yet. Our group of people are worthy of the country's training." Soon, the leader left, and Lin Shu said, "Yizan, you did a good job. I will make you the little bully of our awakened college. You bully men and women, tease cats and dogs, and I don't care about you." Quote. Yizan suddenly felt unhappy and said, Dean Lin, what are you talking about? Am I that kind of person? Lin Shu smiled, walked onto the martial arts field, and then said with a serious expression, except for Yi Zan, your performance is average. You should be mentally prepared. Starting next month, some of your spirit stones may be reduced. Quote. Suddenly a student asked, why? Didn't Yi Zan defeat those people just now? Why did you deduct our spiritual stones? Lin Shu explained, because these spirit stone mines were conquered by those people with their lives. They even dared to challenge our Academy of Awakeners at Demon City University, and students from other places also faced many challenges. Other awakened academies may not necessarily have weirdos like Yi Zan, plus the resentment of the awakened from the Zhonghu sect. Starting from next month, the overall supply of spiritual stones to the Academy should be reduced in part, but it doesn't matter. As the advantages of your talents are revealed, the supply of spiritual stones will gradually recover. Quote. Many students in the audience were quite dissatisfied, but when they heard that Ling Shiquang was defeated by this group of people, they suddenly had nothing to say. At this time, Zhao Lei suddenly said, Dean Lin, why do we have to rely on others? Can't we attack the Lingxi mine ourselves? Lin Shu poured cold water on him and said, wait until your ability development exceeds 10%. For a moment, everyone was a little frustrated. It is not easy to improve ability development. Spirit stones will be reduced next month. Everyone is a little confused about the future. At this time, Zhou Cheng walked onto the stage and clapped his hands, attracting the attention of the students. Immediately, he said, okay, don't be discouraged, everyone, your talents are the most outstanding among the awakened ones, and you also represent the hope and future of the country. Even if the spiritual stones are really reduced, it will only be temporary. In the future, you will have great responsibilities, so you must not lose confidence. Quote. Zhou Cheng's job is as a teacher at Magic University. However, after awakening independently, he was transferred to the Awakened College. Lin Shu must be able to give more encouragement to the students. As soon as Zhou Cheng said this, the expressions of the students in the audience became much better, and Lin Shu was ready to go back to the office. At this time, Yi Zan came to Lin Shu and said, Dean Lin, Mengli and I would like to take a leave and go back to our hometown. Lin Shu was stunned for a moment. Go back to Zhongcheng. What's wrong? Yi Zan said lightly. I miss my mother, okay. Lin Shu waved his hand and said, okay, but go back quickly. The round trip shouldn't take more than a week. I see. Later, Yi Zan came to Su Mengli and said, Mengli, I'm asking for leave. Let's go back to Zhongcheng. I'm going to see my parents. I've been away from home for a month, and you want to go back and see me. Right. Su Mengli's eyes showed a trace of emotion and said, well, I also want to go back. Yi Zan was not surprised by Su Mengli's reaction, because when he woke up this morning, he saw that the system tasks had been updated. Paying homage to her parents. The Empress has many things on her mind. She wants to pay homage to her parents and put an end to the parent-child relationship. Mission reward. Dragon and Phoenix Pendant. Dragon and Phoenix Pendant. The dragon and the phoenix follow each other, and they depend on each other for life and death. The holder of the dragon and phoenix pendant can call the other person's name affectionately in his heart, and can be teleported to the other person immediately regardless of the distance. It can be activated once every 24 hours. Although Yi Zan didn't like Su Mengli's parents, he respected Su Mengli's decision. Since she wanted to pay homage to her parents and completely end the parent-child relationship, Yi Zan also supported her. Not to mention, the reward for this mission is very clear, the dragon and phoenix pendant. The ability of this dragon and phoenix pendant can be said to be quite powerful. It can teleport to the opponent regardless of distance. Think about it, Yi Zan was performing an extremely dangerous mission, and when he was about to be in danger, he directly activated the dragon and phoenix pendant, ignored the obstacles of space and distance, and returned directly to Su Mengli's side. He was immediately out of danger. It's simply a life-saving skill. Su Mengli can also escape in the same way. As long as they are not in a desperate situation at the same time, with the dragon and phoenix around, they will be almost invincible. Therefore, whether it was considering Su Mengli's feelings or for a powerful prop like the dragon and phoenix pendant, he had to complete this task. That afternoon, Su Mengli and Yi Zan took the high-speed train back to Zhongcheng. Yi Shui originally wanted to go back, but unfortunately, Lin Shu did not approve her request for leave. After all, it was a full week. As a legal consultant, she couldn't stay away from work for so long, so she could only send Yizan and Su Mengli to the train station and then left on her own. After Yizan and Su Mengli got into the car, they sat down next to each other. Su Mengli looked a little worried, but Yizan didn't say much. He just clasped his fingers with her and gave her strength. Other passengers also got on the bus one after another. Opposite Yizan and Su Mengli, first an old man came up, and then a beautiful woman with 8 points of good looks came up. After she took her seat, she said to the old man, "Uncle, my boyfriend and I didn't buy tickets together. Can you and my boyfriend switch seats?" The uncle was old, seemed to be a little deaf, and his reaction was slow. After 2 or 3 minutes, he turned to look at the beautiful woman. "What did you say?" "I said, can you switch seats with my boyfriend?" The old man was stunned for a moment, then immediately waved his hand and said, "You want me to be your boyfriend?" No, I have a wife." The beauty seemed a little impatient. "Master, are you kidding me? You are so old, is it appropriate to make such a joke?" The old man rolled his eyes. "You also know that I am so old. I can't even stand up now. You ask me to change seats. No-brainer." The beauty was so reviled that she was speechless. However, she seemed not to want to sit separately from her boyfriend. Her eyes fell on Yizan and Su Mengli, wanting to say something. Yizan glanced at her, raised his and Su Mengli's intertwined hands, and said, "My girlfriend and I are together, and we don't plan to change seats." When the beautiful woman saw her, she had no choice but to take out her mobile phone and send a WeChat message to her boyfriend to explain what happened here. "Honey, there is an unreasonable old man next to me, and there is a young couple opposite me. No one wants to change seats with me. What should I do?" Her boyfriend replied, "It's not easy for me to do here, so let me go there." In another carriage, a middle-aged man in a suit stood up and cautiously said to the bald man next to him, "Brother, I have something to do and I have to go out for a while." The bald man glanced at the man and stood up impatiently, "There's so much shit." The middle-aged man smiled carefully and left his car. The moment he entered Yizan's car, his temperament changed significantly. He looked awesome and successful. He came to his girlfriend's side, looked at the old man, and felt that he was not easy to mess with, and then looked at Yizan and Su Mengli. This is a young couple, probably still college students, and they look like they are easy to bully at first glance. Thinking about it, the middle-aged man took out a pack of wazi from his body and handed it to Yizan. "Little brother, you still look like a student, right?" Yizan glanced at him. "What do you want to say?" "To save my brother's face, how about we change our seats? My brother works at Magic City Technology and has some connections. Multiple friends will provide a new path, and multiple enemies will provide a new wall. Don't you think so?" As the middle-aged man spoke, he took out a business card and placed it on the table. The business card read, "Bai Zongming, manager of the Human Resources Department of Modu Technology Company." He looked at Yizan condescendingly, with a sense of superiority in his eyes, as if he was sure that Yizan would give up his seat to him. Yizan reached out and rubbed his eyebrows, and said impatiently, "Get out." Bai Zongming's face suddenly turned ugly. Even if Yizan refused him, he didn't even let him step down. This made the cigarette he handed out hang in the air, neither advancing nor retreating, which was extremely embarrassing. However, at this moment, an old hand stretched out and snatched the box of cigarettes away. Bai Zongming and his girlfriend were both stunned for a moment, but at this time, the old man from before was holding the box of cigarettes. He looked proud. "If I had told you that I had cigarettes, I would have changed seats with you. Drive faster and don't block the road." Immediately, the old man carried his suitcase and walked towards another carriage. He seemed to be in good spirits. Then, Bai Zongming's girlfriend pulled her boyfriend to sit down, rolled her eyes at Yizan, and comforted, "My dear, don't be angry, don't compete with those unqualified housekeepers." When Su Mengli heard this, her expression changed slightly, and then she lightly snapped her fingers with her right hand. The woman sitting opposite Su Mengli suddenly screamed in pain. She felt as if her mouth had been burned by a lighter, and several blisters formed on her mouth. She quickly covered her mouth in pain, looking panicked. Bai Zongming said quickly, What happened? Are you okay? At this moment, Su Mengli said coldly, be careful what you say, be careful of trouble coming from your mouth. Nowadays, the awakened people have become an important part of society, and everyone basically knows about the existence of the awakened people. The man and woman immediately guessed that it was Su Mengli who was responsible. However, they are both ordinary people. The next step of the Awakening Spirit Ball plan is to spread it to the entire society and implement a national awakening, but after all, it has not reached that step yet. Therefore, they did not dare to act arrogant in front of Su Mengli, and the two of them suddenly became much more honest. The train was moving at a speed of more than 200 kilometers per hour. Yizan held Su Mengli's hand and looked at the scenery outside the window. Everything seemed beautiful and comfortable. However, at this moment, a woman screamed, "Ah, rat!" Yizan and Su Mengli turned around and saw a woman grabbing a mouse from her lap and throwing it towards the distance. The rat's body hit the carriage, then fell to the ground and stopped moving. Suddenly, there was another exclamation, "I'll go, there are so many rats." Su Mengli stood up immediately and saw a large group of rats emerging from the bottom of the carriage and attacking the people in the carriage. These rats were so dense that they covered the floor of the carriage and crowded together, forming a very terrifying rat tide. People with trypophobia would die on the spot if they saw it. Su Mengli immediately turned on all his firepower, and a flame appeared above his head, forming a red bird. The flame-red bird burned towards the group of rats with scorching heat. The appearance of this group of rats was very strange, but their strength was average. Facing Su Mengli's red lotus karma fire, these rats could not resist at all, and were instantly burned to ashes. However, some rats broke away from the group of rats, mixed into the crowd, and even ran into other passengers and bit their legs. Not many people are not afraid of rats. There was a lot of chaos in the carriage again. After a few minutes of chaos, the few rats that had slipped through the net were completely eliminated. Yizan was a little puzzled. Why are there rats in the carriage? These rats don't look like they have mutated. Yizan is very familiar with the mutated animals. After the mutated animals, these animals generally become larger in size, stronger in strength and speed, and perhaps have some additional special abilities. These mice are exactly the size of normal mice, and their speed and strength have not changed. At most, they are more courageous than ordinary mice. After all, ordinary mice will just hide away when they see a crowd. As for these mice, they were crazy and rushed directly into the crowd. They were very courageous, as if they had drunk erguotu and were looking for cats with kitchen knives. Other than that, there was nothing special about them. Su Mengli was also a little confused. Just as she was about to say something, suddenly, there was another scream. I saw that the woman who was first bitten on the leg by the rat, her eyes turned pure white at this moment. She bit the neck of an ant next to her, and ate her flesh and blood. The ant let out a shrill scream, pushed the woman away from her neck, struggled to stand up, ran forward a few steps, and then fell to the ground weakly. Blood seeped out quickly, staining the bottom of the carriage with a layer of red. The men, women, and children in the carriage suddenly screamed in fright. The scene was quite horrifying. At the same time, several people brazenly attacked the people around them. All of these people were people who had been bitten or scratched by rats before. Some people were not prepared and were bitten directly. Of course, a few of the attacked were adult men with strong bodies. They immediately launched resistance, and the scene was very chaotic for a while. Yizan and Su Mengli immediately rushed forward to stop the attackers. Yizan noticed that those who took the initiative to attack had all been bitten by rats. At this moment, their eyes were like the Byakugan in Naruto, showing pure white without any black eyes, which looked very strange. Although these people are terrifying, their strength and speed do not exceed that of normal people. They just lose their minds and are not afraid of death. Yizan and Su Mengli took action and quickly subdued 7 or 8 infected people. However, the chaos in the carriage did not end so quickly. Everyone was scared to death. What's going on? Why are they biting people randomly? Have they turned into zombies? Train to Busan. What should I do now? Can I stop the car? I want to get off the car. Where is the flight attendant? Why didn't the flight attendant come? Am I going to die here? I have to call home and leave a suicide note. Chapter 86. At this moment, some of the infected guys were burned by Su Mengli, and some had their limbs broken by Yi Zan. The infected person's limbs were broken, and his body could not move. He could only struggle constantly, open and close his mouth, and wanted to bite people. It looked quite scary. A woman in her 40s suddenly became furious when she saw her husband become like this. She stood up suddenly, and then slapped Su Mengli on the face. She also cursed, "Why didn't you burn those rats to death immediately? Why did my husband get bitten by rats? Why?" Su Mengli didn't react at the first moment. Although she was very talented, she was a bit clumsy in character. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been bullied all the time in high school. If she faced a strange beast, she could burn it to ashes immediately, but facing this angry woman, she didn't know what to do. Moreover, her ability is mainly reflected in the indestructible attack of Red Lotus Karma Fire, and her physical fitness is not much better than that of ordinary people. Therefore, Su Mengli received a heavy slap on the face, and her cheeks turned red from the slap. There was a hint of cruelty in the middle-aged woman's eyes. He suddenly pulled out a fruit knife from his body and slashed it towards Su Mengli's face. At this time, Yi Zan finally rushed over. He grabbed the woman's arm with one hand and said coldly, "What are you doing?" As Yi Zan exerted force on his hand, the fruit knife in the woman's hand suddenly became unstable and fell to the ground. The middle-aged woman said angrily, "Let me go. Isn't it your duty, the awakened ones, to protect us? What do you do for food? Did you harm my husband like this? I want to complain. I want to complain to you." Yi Zan listened to this woman's unreasonable words, and a cold look flashed in his eyes. "You want to complain, right? Okay, I'll give you this chance," Yi Zan said, pinching the woman's neck with one hand, lifting her up, and then walked step by step towards the closed door of the carriage. The woman's body was struggling and she screamed like a slaughtering pig, "What are you doing? Let me go, let me go." At this time, Su Mengli said, "Yi Zan, why don't you forget it?" Yi Zan glanced at his girlfriend and said, "This incident is not small. Such stupid and bad people will only harm us." Yi Zan had already realized the seriousness of the matter. In his own carriage, nothing serious happened because Su Mengli took action immediately and killed most of the rats. But what about the other carriages? If similar groups of rats appear in other carriages, and if no powerful awakener takes action immediately, I am afraid that more than half of the people in one carriage will be bitten and scratched. When the time comes, those people who have been bitten and scratched by rats will directly attack other people around them, and it will only take a few minutes for the entire carriage to collapse in an instant. This high-speed train has a total of 16 carriages. If all the other carriages fall, Yi Zan and Su Mengli will be under great pressure even if they are extremely powerful. Yi Zan carried the middle-aged woman to the door of the carriage, preparing to throw her out directly. At this moment, through the glass of the carriage, you can see that there is blood everywhere in the other carriage. It was full of zombies with pure white eyes. They slapped the carriage door with their bodies and looked very scary. The middle-aged woman was shocked when she saw this scene and shouted, "Put me down, let me go, please." Yi Zan said coldly, "Don't you think we failed to save your husband? Your husband has turned into a zombie now and is hopeless. I will send you there and let them bite you and reunite you as husband and wife. Isn't that right? Okay." At this moment, a righteous voice said, "Young man, you have gone too far. Put this elder sister down quickly. I am recording it with my mobile phone. As an awakened person, you harm us ordinary people. If I expose the video, you will be finished." Quote. The speaker was none other than Bai Zongming, the so-called HR manager of the Magic City Technology Company who was sitting opposite Yi Zan. Bai Zongming couldn't stand up in front of Yi Zan before and lost face. He had been brooding about it before. It's just that he is an ordinary person and can't fight against a couple of awakened people. Fortunately, now that he has found a chance, what about the awakened people? Today is the information age, and public opinion can easily crush someone to death. And what about Yi Zan? How hot-tempered, this ant just slaps his girlfriend, and he will harm others. Bai Zongming believes that as long as this video is released, Yi Zan will definitely be ruined. As soon as Bai Zongming spoke, the middle-aged woman gained confidence. "Throw it, try throwing me over. As long as that big brother releases the video, you will be finished." After hearing this, Yi Zan sneered, grabbed the carriage door, and pulled hard. The carriage door opened, and 5 or 6 infected people with pure white eyes rushed towards Yizan. Yizan kicked them, and with the huge force, dozens of zombies flew backwards, and then landed heavily on the ground. Then, Yizan threw the middle-aged woman directly into the carriage and closed the door. The middle-aged woman stood up in a hurry. She kept slapping the tempered glass window with her hands, begging Yizan to let her pass. Unfortunately, Yizan was indifferent at all. Soon, the zombies that Yizan had kicked away before rushed up from behind, and then a large group of people started to eat different body parts of the middle-aged woman. There were so many zombies that they didn't give the middle-aged woman a chance to transform into zombies, and all her flesh and blood were almost eaten away. A bloody hand left a long trail of blood on the tempered glass, and finally fell to the ground helplessly. At this moment, Yizan turned back and looked at Bai Zongming. Bai Zongming panicked. "You madman. You are the devil. What do you want? Do you still want to deal with me?" Yizan said lightly. "You all saw what happened just now." Most of the people in other carriages turned into that ghostly look. "The reason why you are alive is because my girlfriend burned those rats to death immediately and saved you. What should a grateful person do? There are 16 carriages, and the number of zombies at this moment is tens of thousands. It is a very laborious task for my girlfriend and I to protect so many of you. At this time, some ignorant idiots need to be dealt with so that I can better protect you. Your destiny is in your own hands, choose it yourself, show me your sensible side." Quote. As soon as Yizan said these words, the car was quiet for a moment, and Bai Zongming became even more panicked. He turned to look at his girlfriend, about to say something. However, the moment he turned his head, his girlfriend hit him hard on the head with a metal thermos cup. Then, Bai Zongming's girlfriend looked guilty. "Dear, I'm sorry, I want to live." She is more aware of current affairs than her boyfriend. Something big happened to this high-speed train, and the only ones she can count on are Yizan and Su Mengli. The middle-aged woman just now repaid kindness with revenge. It was obviously the rats that killed her husband, but she blamed Su Mengli for not protecting her well enough and was thrown into the zombies by Yizan. She deserved it. She really didn't expect that her boyfriend could be so stupid. How about a successful person? If you don't understand current affairs at all, isn't this looking for death? And after she smashed the thermos cup on Bai Zongming's head, others also took action. A young man held his laptop and touched Bai Zongming's head. Blood flowed down his head and over his eyes, dyeing his vision red. Another woman took action. She took off her high heels and smashed them hard. The sole of the high-heeled shoe was directly inserted into Bai Zongming's temple. Bai Zongming was completely hopeless this time and fell heavily to the ground. Although Bai Zongming was dead, other people came forward one after another to show their loyalty and began to whip the corpse, lest Yizan thought that they were ignorant of current affairs and would not save them if they encountered danger later. Someone else picked up Bai Zongming's mobile phone and said, "This old boy's mobile phone has no internet connection. He just took a video with his camera and it was not uploaded at all. You can rest assured." After hearing this, Yizan said calmly, "I'm not afraid of what videos he will upload at all. In this critical moment, neither law nor morality has any meaning. What I want to do is to protect as many of you as possible. Some people who are worth saving, I will save, and those who are not worth saving, then die. As it stands, without me and my girlfriend, everyone in this carriage would die. Therefore, whether it was the woman who died just now or this Bai Zongming, I didn't kill them, I just didn't save them and let them follow their original destiny." Quote. You were right, these two people are really stupid. It is best for such people to die, otherwise they will kill other people sooner or later. That's right, they really deserve to die. This world is different from before. Only smart people can survive. As for fools, it's better to die early and be born early. You two, you have spent a lot of effort just now, come here and sit for a while, rest and recharge your batteries, so as not to have no energy to deal with it later. The remaining people in the carriage were very sensible and regarded Yizan and Su Mengli as their saviors and treated them respectfully. Yizan then said to Su Mengli, "Mengli, did you see it? As awakened beings, we want to protect ordinary people, but we can decide who we want to protect. For example, today, there were 100 people in this carriage, and including Bai Zongming and that woman, only about 10 people died in total. We protected 90% of ordinary people and still made a great contribution. As for some casualties, that is inevitable. In the last days, human life is like nothing. Some people still want to get in line on the way to see the Lord of Hell. We should satisfy them. Quote. Su Mengli nodded slightly. At this time, at the other end of the carriage, the collision sound became louder and more zombies piled up behind the door. It was only a matter of time before the train door was pushed open. Yi Zan looked at this scene and said to Su Mengli, Mengli, it seems that I have to do something. Mengli, you guard the door on the other side of the carriage. I will go and clean it up here. Su Mengli's face changed slightly. How about we come together? She was worried that something would happen to Yi Zan. Yi Zan shook his head. It's okay. Although these zombies look scary, their actual strength is average. They can't hurt me. During this period of time, Yi Zan's ability development rate has improved significantly, reaching 23%, and his strength has reached 215 meters. Such a terrifying power, and a body that can carry such power is naturally not bad at dealing with these zombies. Afterwards, Yi Zan opened the carriage and punched it straight ahead. There were hundreds of zombies crowded there. They were hit by Yi Zan's punch and flew backwards. Like a goddess scattering flowers, they landed in different locations in the carriage. The scene looked very shocking. Yi Zan walked forward step by step. Some of the zombies that were knocked away had their bones broken due to Yi Zan's terrifying power, and they lost their ability to resist. But some of them still have the ability to move. Some of them crawled and some walked, and they rushed towards Yi Zan crazily. They looked a bit scary. Yi Zan drew the dark iron heavy sword directly from the system space, and then wielded the dark iron heavy sword to slash at these zombies. The weight of the dark iron heavy sword is indeed a bit light for Yi Zan now, but there is no other way, it is better than nothing. The physical strength of these zombies was not high. Yi Zan punched him directly into his internal organs, making them bloody and very uncomfortable. With the dark iron heavy sword here, with one strike of the sword, the heads of several zombies would be separated and cut in half with one strike. At least the hands would not be so disgusting. Within a few minutes, Yi Zan emptied the entire carriage. Then, he opened the door of another carriage and ushered in a new wave of challenges. The carriage that Yi Zan and Su Mengli were in was carriage number 10. There were 6 carriages behind it. Yi Zan emptied one carriage every 10 minutes on average. By the time he emptied all the carriages, it was already an hour. Then, Yi Zan returned to the number 10 carriage step by step. He was covered in blood and flesh, and looked quite embarrassed. Yi Zan envied Su Mengli's wide-sleeved fairy skirt, which had a self-cleaning function. When will he get such a set of clothes? He wouldn't have to be so embarrassed every time after a fight. After Yi Zan entered the carriage, Su Mengli immediately pulled Yi Zan's arm and said, "Are you okay?" Yi Zan shook his head and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine. Next, clean up carriages 1 to 9 again, and there shouldn't be any big problems." Su Mengli's face changed slightly, and said, "Carriages 1 to 9 may be different from carriages 11 to 16. Yi Zan's face changed slightly. "What's the difference?" Su Mengli looked solemn, and said, "Since half an hour ago, there have been very violent vibrations from carriages 1 to 9 from time to time. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Don't go there alone. Let's wait here." Yi Zan didn't want Su Mengli to worry about him, so he nodded and waited. After about 10 minutes, I heard heavy footsteps. There were originally many zombies on the tempered glass window of car number 8, but at this moment, only terrifying wailing and chewing sounds were heard, and the zombies on the glass window quickly disappeared. Then, there was only a loud bang, and the door between carriages number 9 and 10 was kicked up and flew towards everyone. Yi Zan jumped up suddenly, punched the door from top to bottom, and the door was smashed to the bottom of the carriage by Yi Zan, and Yi Zan also saw his opponent. This is a guy with a rather terrifying appearance. Compared with those strange beasts, its body is not huge. It is much smaller than the previous Pig King, only 3 or 4 meters tall. But its appearance is too terrifying. It is generally human-shaped, with a very large head and no hair. However, it has no facial features, or in other words, it is full of facial features. Its huge head was randomly dotted with some facial features, including 20 or 30 eyeballs, 8 or 9 mouths, a dozen ears, and 5 or 6 noses. These facial features obviously come from different humans, and are chaotically distributed on its head. As for its body, it is even weirder. Although it is roughly human-shaped, its arms are covered with hands. These hands come from different men and women, and they are still grabbing the air randomly, which is very weird. Its legs are relatively normal, but several times thicker than ordinary people, and it looks very powerful. After it appeared, the mouths randomly installed on its head began to speak. "Eat you. I'm going to eat you." This is the voice of a young man. "I'm in so much pain. Kill me quickly." This was the voice of a middle-aged woman. "Hee hee, it's so delicious. I want to eat more." This was the voice of a little girl. After the little girl finished speaking, she suddenly opened her mouth and bit down, directly eating a nose that also grew on this face, and then started chewing it. Yizan looked at this scene with a chill in his heart. What is this? Doesn't it look too disgusting? This thing. Yizan's expression was solemn. He finally remembered that the disgusting guy in front of him seemed to be that guy, the Insect King. At first, Yizan thought that the people on the train turned into zombies because the rats had mutated. People bitten by rats were infected with the virus and turned into zombies. However, when Yizan saw this monster made up of countless human organs, Yizan knew that it was not that simple. No matter how alienated the rat is, it can't break away from its instinct. It can become bigger, stronger and faster, but it can't be so weird. This kind of alienation of the human body's polymerized state can only be related to parasites. In the previous life, the top power among the alien beasts, the Insect King, seemed to have a similar human body polymerized form. Of course, Yizan has not seen the other party in person, only in the video. Although there were some differences between the Insect King at that time and now, if you look closely, you can still see some similarities. Later, after the Insect Emperor was besieged and strangled by 2 SSS-level experts, the Insect Emperor's body was handed over to the Chinese Academy of Sciences for research. The research results show that the Insect King was originally a parasite that parasitized on mice. When the spiritual energy was revived, the rats were not alienated. On the contrary, the Insect King was alienated. At first, like the zombie virus in the movie, they spread among the rats, turning all the rats in an area into zombie rats. These zombie rats swarmed in the wild, with no grass growing anywhere they passed. They met the high-speed train Yizan was riding on, and launched a brazen attack. The alienation speed of this Insect King is indeed terrifying. After they controlled the rats to attack humans and parasitized in the human body, in just 1 hour, they evolved again and turned into the form in front of them. The guy in front of me should be regarded as the juvenile form of the Insect King. According to the original historical process, it will parasitize all the people on the carriage and then merge into one. Then, it continued on the road of evolution until it became a serious problem for mankind, comparable to the world-destroying dragon whale, the amazing Kunpeng and other peerless beasts. However, since Yizan is here today, it is naturally impossible to let it continue to grow and threaten the survival of mankind. It's a long story, but in fact, it went through Yizan's mind very quickly. Next, his resolute voice sounded, the mighty heavenly dragon, the world-honored Saitagarba, the Boruo Buddhas, the Borapa Mahakong. As soon as he finished speaking, special effects began to be added to Yizan's body. His whole body shone with golden light, and the dark black iron heavy sword in his hand also changed into a shining golden form, making him look like a Super Saiyan. The Insect King in front of him looks twisted and perverted, and he can be said to be the evil among evils. The mighty Tianlong has the effect of destroying evil, and it can be of great use at this moment. After Yizan activated the mighty heavenly dragon, the young Insect King in front of him seemed to feel threatened, and its body rushed towards Yizan quickly. Then, the golden dark iron heavy sword slashed down with one strike. The Insect King raised his arm to block it, and the countless palms on the Insect King's arms opened directly. These palms jointly grasped the blade of the dark iron heavy sword. Yizan could feel that the power of the Insect King was superior to his own. He tried his best to draw out the dark iron heavy sword, but he could not. At this moment, Su Mengli also took action, and Red Lotus Karma fire appeared around her. Then, a fire phoenix and a red bird flew towards the insect king. Although the insect king is a larva, it has a strong sense of combat. It keenly feels that Su Mengli's fire is very dangerous. Therefore, it exerted force on its arm, and Yizan felt a sharp pain in the tiger's mouth. The black iron heavy sword was grabbed by the countless palms on its arm, and he snatched it directly, and its body also jumped up, avoiding Su's dreamy flames. The fire phoenix and Suzaku released by Su Mengli bombarded another carriage, melting 2 large holes in the carriage. Next, the insect king rushed towards Yizan, and then its long arm hit Yizan's head. Yizan punched him. Then, the insect king remained motionless, but Yizan couldn't help but took a few steps back. This young insect king was really difficult to deal with. At this moment, Yizan also understood why the threats faced by mankind in the future would be so serious. Let's not talk about low-end combat power, let's talk about high-end combat power. The insect king in front of us will grow to the level of a peerless beast in the future. The future upper limit can be said to be similar to Su Mengli. However, although the upper limit is the same, the growth rate is completely different. The insect king in front of him is just a young ecology, but he has this kind of strength, which is much stronger than Su Mengli. In the future, as the recovery of spiritual energy intensified, Su Mengli relied on national resources to make rapid progress, but he could barely keep up with the insect king in front of him. As for the insect king, it grew completely naturally, but without Su Mengli, it had the support of national power behind it. No wonder, as the recovery of spiritual energy intensifies, human beings will be under increasing pressure. The rate of human evolution is simply not as fast as these alienated creatures. The insect king at this moment was actually much worse than it was at its peak, but it was still not something Yizan could defeat. At its peak, the insect king's physical strength was only an insignificant part of it. Its main abilities were reflected in parasitism, fusion, division, regeneration, etc. The insect king's body is originally composed of countless parasites controlling the human body and fusing it together. Therefore, its body does not actually have any so-called weaknesses. Lin Shu, the owner of the immortal demonic body, after his head was chopped off, he went on a killing spree for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally died of exhaustion. As for the insect king, even if it is broken into thousands of pieces, it will be useless. It can be fused together again. If you want to kill it, you can only use the power of the elemental system to make it not even a scum. That will be considered complete. Dead. Therefore, to kill the insect king, we must rely on Su Mengli, and Su Mengli's current ability development is too low to achieve full-screen carpet bombing. Therefore, Yizan must take action to make the guy in front of him lose the power to resist within a certain period of time, so that he can be completely killed and eliminate a major threat to mankind. While Yizan was thinking about countermeasures, the insect king had already charged forward brazenly. It knew that its power was greater than that of Yizan, so it knew how to continue to use its advantages to expand its results. Its arm covered with palms collided with Yizan's arm again, but this time, Yizan was not repelled. On the contrary, the countless palms on the insect king's arms suddenly opened, and the 5 fingers on them grabbed Yizan's arm, making it impossible for Yizan to escape. At the same time, its other arm also moved towards Yizan. Dozens of palms on it locked Yizan's body and then exerted force. Then, Yizan's body was directly lifted up by the insect king. Then, one of the mouths on the insect king's huge head opened, and then grew bigger and bigger. The whole head seemed to have turned into a giant mouth like a piranha. This huge mouth was about to bite Yizan's body. It can be seen from the giant mouth full of sharp teeth like a piranha that even Yizan's current body cannot withstand this bite. Su Mengli's face turned pale. Yizan. But at this moment, Yizan, who was about to be buried in Juko, said, "It's okay, Mengli, use your full attack later to kill this guy." 8-Gate Dunjia, open. 8-Gate Dunjia is one of Yizan's trump cards. It can directly increase Yizan's power 8 times to 9 times its original value in 8 seconds. Yizan's power was already as high as 215 meters, which was already quite terrifying. Because of this, he was able to fight the insect king in front of him a few times. The power of the insect king in front of him was about 300 meters, which was still higher than that of Yizan. However, once Yizan opened the 8 gates of Dunjia, it would be different. The 8-gate Dunjia can directly increase Yizan's strength by 8 times, turning it into 1,900 meters. This kind of power can completely crush the young insect king in front of him. However, the 8-gate Dunjia can only last for 8 seconds. In 8 seconds, Yizan is enough to tear the insect king into pieces. However, the body structure of the insect king determined that even if Yizan tore it into pieces, he would not be able to kill it completely. If he wanted to destroy it, he had to rely on Su Mengli. Only the Red Lotus karmic fire could deal a fatal blow to it. Therefore, Yizan knew what Su Mengli would do at this critical moment of life and death. And as Yizan said the 4 characters, 8-gate Dunjia Kai, his body, which was already shining with golden light, changed again. His body, based on the original golden light, had a strong blood color, and blood was spraying all over his body. This strong blood dyed the golden light red. Then, Yizan's arms were slightly strengthened, and he easily broke away from the countless palms on the insect king's arms. Then, Yizan grabbed the insect king's huge mouth that expanded to nearly 180 degrees with both hands, and then exerted force with both hands. The terrifying power burst out, and the insect king's mouth and head were torn apart by Yizan. At this moment, Yizan could feel the terrifying power filling his body, as if it was going to destroy everything. After tearing apart the insect king's mouth and head, he gave the insect king in front of him a loving hug. The countless palms on the insect king's arms were clawing and scratching at Yizan crazily. Unfortunately, such power was of no use to Yizan, who had exploded into 8 gates of Dunjia. Yizan hugged the insect king and exerted force on his body. The insect king in front of him was like a low-quality inflatable doll that had been squeezed hard. It suddenly exploded and turned into countless pieces of flesh and blood. At this time, Yizan immediately said, "Mengli, hurry up and do it." Su Mengli was already prepared, and she pushed forward toward the void with both hands. Next, a huge karma red lotus appeared in front of Su Mengli. This flaming red lotus was dozens of meters high, but it did not cause any damage to the carriage, nor did it burn Yizan. However, wherever the red lotus of karma passed, the flesh and blood of the insect emperor was evaporated. There seemed to be countless insects struggling in the flesh and blood, making squeaking sounds. Unfortunately, the karma red lotus was too restrained against the insect king. The insects hidden in the flesh and blood were, without exception, burned into charred corpses. The future insect king had already completely perished before it could step onto its own stage. At this moment, the 8 seconds had just ended. Yizan fell to the ground, his whole body sore and weak. The 8 seconds of real man time ended, and he fell into a weak state for 8 days. Su Mengli saw Yizan fall to the ground. She didn't care about her weak state. She rushed over in 2 or 3 steps and picked up Yizan. "Are you okay?" Yizan shook his head and said, "It's okay. I just burst out with strength just now. Now I'm very weak and have no strength at all." At this moment, Yizan felt that his whole body was weak, as if every bit of strength in his body had been squeezed out. He was like a seriously ill patient. He could barely walk, let alone fight. This 8 gates of Dunjia is indeed strong enough, but this weak state is also cruel enough, which directly made Yizan become like a useless person. At this moment, the war was finally over, and the survivors in the carriage were relieved. Next, several people helped to tidy up the seats in the carriage, and Su Mengli carried Yizan to the seat. At this time, a passenger suddenly said, "Oops. Now all the carriages are in trouble. Doesn't that mean that the conductor is no exception? Then how can our train stop?" "Yes, something happened to the conductor too. This is a train, something will happen sooner or later. You two, you have to save us. We are all grasshoppers in the same boat." Su Mengli frowned after hearing this. "Yizan, what should we do now?" Yizan thought for a while and said, "This is not a difficult task. Mengli, you go and fuse the connection point between our carriage and car No. 9. In addition, notify Dean Lin again and tell him the current situation of the train so that the corresponding train station can respond in advance to reduce casualties." Quote. Su Mengli responded, then let Yizan lie down for a while she walked to the number 9 carriage. Then, her palms released hot flames. Not to mention the Red Lotus industry fire and the burning of gold and jade, the connections between carriages number 9 and 10 were completely burned by Su Mengli in just a few seconds. Then, the entire carriage shook violently several times, and the speed gradually began to slow down. Su Mengli returned to her seat, frowned and said, "Yizan, my mobile phone has no signal, what should I do now? Although the people in the carriage are safe now, the carriage will stop if it continues to travel a certain distance based on inertia. But the carriages 1 to 9 in front are still very dangerous. If Lin Shu is not notified, there may be secondary casualties." At this time, an old man came over with his mobile phone. "Girl, you can use my mobile phone. I have a signal on my mobile phone and I just called my daughter-in-law." Su Mengli took a look and saw that the old man was holding a domestic copycat mobile phone, the Zhonghuayan mobile phone. The back of the phone looks like Wazi's cigarette case, and the front has golden buttons. The screen is not big, but for the elderly, they can see the numbers clearly. At this moment, neither Su Mengli's mobile phone nor Yizan's mobile phone, including most of the other people's mobile phones in the carriage, had any signal at the moment. However, this old man's Zhonghua brand mobile phone has full signal bars, which can be said to be quite powerful. Moreover, this copycat phone can also ignite and store cigarettes, which is quite practical. Su Mengli took the phone and said, "Thank you, sir." Then, she used this mobile phone to call Lin Shu. After a while, Lin Shu's voice rang, "Hey, who is it?" Su Mengli was immediately startled. This fake phone was nothing short of awesome. She thought it was her phone, so she put it directly to her ear to answer it. As a result, the sound was louder than the speakerphone sound of her mobile phone, which made her head buzz. She hurriedly put the phone away, and then introduced to Lin Shu what was happening here. Then, Lin Shu's voice like a loudspeaker came, "Okay, I understand, I will have someone prepare it at the train station in advance. You and Yizan must pay attention to your own safety. You must understand your own potential and talents. Saving people is very important, but your own safety is more important. When necessary, you can give up some ordinary people for your own safety. Because when you grow up, you will be able to save tens of thousands or hundreds of millions of people in the future. Therefore, whether it is for yourself or for the country, preserving your lives is more important than anything else." Quote. Su Mengli felt that Lin Shu's words were like a speech. His words reverberated throughout the carriage and everyone could hear them clearly. It always sounded strange. After all, except for Su Mengli and Yizan, everyone in this carriage is the kind of ordinary people Lin Shu said, who can give up when necessary. Therefore, Su Mengli hurriedly said, "Dean Lin, I understand everything you said, so let's do this for now." Then, she immediately hung up the phone and returned the heavy Chinese mobile phone to the old man. The old man took the phone and said, "Little girl, don't be embarrassed, the dean just now was right, you are the hope of mankind. How many people died on this train just now? There must be thousands of people, right? Without you, we would all have died. In the future, you will be able to save more and more people. Your lives are indeed more precious than ours." Quote. The old man's words made Su Mengli's expression slightly better, but most people in the car were not so happy. After all, in the eyes of others, their lives are just ordinary people who can give up at any time. How can they be happy? At this moment, the train lost its pulling force from the front, and its speed continued to decrease under the effect of friction. After another 7 or 8 minutes, it finally stopped completely. Su Mengli helped Yizan out of the car, and others also got out of the car one after another. The surroundings were desolate, there was nothing, and the 10th to 16th carriages were also in a mess. On the car window glass, you can see random splatters of blood, white brains, and scattered broken limbs, just like a hell on earth. Su Mengli looked at this scene and sighed, "Is this the price of spiritual energy recovery? If possible, I would rather continue to be a little transparent like before." Yizan listened to Su Mengli's words, held her hand and said, "Don't sigh, no one has a choice in this matter. Your talent is not a mistake, but the hope of mankind. Su Mengli is very kind. Before her spiritual energy recovered, she was a little transparent and a little stupid, and was often bullied. After the spiritual energy was revived, she awakened her SSS level talent, and was valued by everyone, becoming the favored one of heaven. It can be said that the spiritual energy recovery changed her destiny, and she was very happy about it for a time. However, after seeing this scene with her own eyes today, she would rather her fate did not change and her spiritual energy did not recover. In that case, although she might not be as prosperous as she is now, at least so many people would not die. At this moment, Yi Zan looked at Su Mengli, and his heart was also a little complicated. If the spiritual energy does not revive, Su Mengli will always be the ordinary Su Mengli. Then after rebirth, will he try his best to help her, just like licking a dog, to increase his favorability? Yi Zan knew what the answer was. Sure enough, compared to Mengli, he was just a mortal and couldn't be that noble. Next, Yi Zan and his group waited for rescue. After all, there was no village or shop in the middle of nowhere. With so many people, it was impossible for them to leave on foot, right? Therefore, Lin Shu had said on the phone before that he would arrange for rescue. At the Awakener Academy, Magic City University, Yi Shui came to Lin Shu's office with Xiaohong in her arms. Because pets were not allowed on the high-speed train, Xiaohong was left behind by Su Mengli and was taken care of by Yi Shui. Lin Shu said, "Advisor Yi, your brother and Su Mengli were attacked by a strange beast on the way to Zhongcheng, but I have already talked to them on the phone, don't worry." Yi Shui suddenly looked nervous, and her hand involuntarily grabbed Xiaohong's hair. "Are they okay?" Lin Shu shook his head and said, "They are fine. They are the two pillars of our Awakener Academy. How could something happen to them? I just told you, you should inform your parents. If they don't arrive in Zhongcheng on time, don't worry, they will arrive later." Yi Shui relaxed, and her right hand slowly helped Xiaohong smooth her hair. Xiaohong looked resentful. Yi Zan and his group waited for more than 3 hours, and finally several buses drove over from the provincial road next to them. The group got on the bus one after another, and then showed a smile of surviving a disaster on their faces. After all, this time, the crisis encountered on the train was not small. The whole train, with 16 carriages, had 1,600 people, not counting the crew. Now, there are only more than 80 people who survived, and the death rate of more than 90% can be said to be quite high. Of course, they will say what should be said about everything that happened on the train, and let it go if it shouldn't be said. Let's not talk about others. Although Yi Zan instructed the death of Bai Zongming, they were the ones who did it. Some of them directly participated in the killing process, and some participated in whipping the corpse. They were not much better. No one wanted their evil deeds to be exposed to the sun. And when encountering such danger, if 1 or 2 more people died accidentally, who would bother about it? The bus drove forward according to different destinations. Because the speed was much slower than the train, plus the waiting time, Zhongcheng, which was supposed to arrive at 3 or 4 o'clock, did not arrive until more than 8 o'clock in the evening. It was late, and Su Mengli was not suitable to visit her parents at this time. Therefore, she first sent Yi Zan home, and she herself, as usual, lived with Yi Shui. Although she and Yi Zan have confirmed their relationship, they are still in college and are still far from getting married, so it is naturally impossible for them to live in Yi Zan's house openly. In the Yi family villa, Yi Zan was pale and sat on the sofa weakly. Lin Chaoju looked at her son and said, "What's wrong with you? Why do you look sick?" Yi Zan said weakly, "I encountered some trouble before, and I consumed too much energy. I am a little weak. I will be fine after a few days of rest." Lin Chaoju felt sorry for her son and said, "Then sit for a while. I will make some chicken soup for you. You can rest early after drinking it." Yi Zan nodded and said nothing. He knew very well that the weak state of the 8 gates of Dunjia was mandatory, and even chicken soup would not have any effect. However, since his mother was worried about him, he should drink it. The next morning, Su Mengli came to Yi Zan and asked, "Are you feeling better?" Yi Zan smiled and said, "I'm fine, I just overexerted myself. I'll be fine in a few days." Su Mengli nodded and said, "I'm going to the North Suburb Cemetery today. You're so weak, just rest at home." Yi Zan stood up and said, "I'm fine. I'll go with you." "But, no buts, help me walk." Yi Zan didn't forget his mission. He accompanied Su Mengli to pay homage to his parents. Who knows if leaving Mengli alone will affect the mission settlement. Besides, Yi Zan is not sick now, and he doesn't feel uncomfortable. It's just that he feels no strength in his body. He can accompany Su Mengli. In addition, going to the cemetery alone to visit his deceased parents. Yizan hopes that she won't be so sad if he is with her. Seeing Yizan's firm attitude, Su Mengli had to help Yizan go out. As for Yizan's parents, they also had no objection to this. Although Yizan was weak, Su Mengli had lost her parents. Even though those parents were not worthy of being called parents, Su Mengli was very fragile and needed company at the moment. Half an hour later, Yizan and Su Mengli appeared in Nanshan Cemetery, and then Su Mengli saw the tombstones of Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan. Although the two had a complete quarrel and divorced during their lifetime, they were buried together after death under the consultation of their relatives. On the tombstone, it was written that the tomb of the loving father Zhang Guodong and the loving mother Zhang Sholan. A line of small characters on the left side wrote the time of the tombstone, and 2 lines of small characters on the right side wrote the birth and death dates of Su Guodong and Zhang Sholan. Su Mengli stared at the tombstone for a while, then slowly knelt down. Dad, Mom, you gave birth to me and raised me, now you are dust to dust, no matter what happened, it is over, your daughter is here to see you. Yizan listened to Su Mengli's words and sighed. He knew that Su Guodong and his wife were not Su Mengli's biological mother, but he did not tell Su Mengli about this. Su Mengli must have had some guesses about the death of Su Guodong and his wife. In order to protect Su Mengli's growth, the Academy of Awakeners killed these 2 people. Although Su Mengli was a little sad, that was all. After all, the kindness of raising them for more than 10 years would not be lost. However, if Su Mengli knew that this couple was not her biological father and mother, I am afraid that in addition to being sad, she would feel even more guilty. If you are alive but not nourished, you can return it if you cut off your fingers. If you nourish it while it is alive, you can return it if you cut off your head. If you nourish it before it is born, it is difficult to return it in this life. The kindness of adoptive parents to their children is truly extraordinary. Before the divorce, Su Guodong and his wife, although they did not say how good they were to Su Mengli, they did fulfill their obligations as parents, providing her with food, clothing, and education. There's no denying it. Because of this, Su Mengli's parents had gone too far before, and Yizan never thought of touching the couple. Instead, he settled with money. Even if he really wanted to touch the couple, someone else would have to do it. He didn't want to leave any flaws or stains in Su Mengli's heart. The deceased were the most important. Now that Su Guodong and his wife had just died, Su Mengli no longer resented them that much. As time passes, perhaps Su Mengli will forget the ugly side of her parents and only remember how much they loved her when she was a child. People's memories will gradually beautify the dead. One day in the future, in the dead of night, she suddenly missed her parents. Perhaps, she will blame the person who caused her to lose her parents. When the time comes, Lin Shu and the Academy of Awakeners will naturally take the blame. Yizan cannot be blamed. At this moment, Yizan could also understand why Su Guodong and his wife went so far before. Su Mengli knelt in front of the tombstone, with tears in her eyes, telling some things about her childhood. After talking for a while, she also talked about some things about herself at Shanghai University. She faced the tombstone and shared her joys, sorrows, and joys, and she seemed to feel much more relaxed. More than half an hour later, the system prompt sounded in Yizan's ears. Congratulations to the host for completing the task of paying homage to his parents and receiving the dragon and phoenix pendant as a reward. Yizan thought, and the dragon and phoenix pendants appeared in his hands. These dragon and phoenix pendants, one is a dragon pendant and the other is a phoenix pendant. They look very beautiful and flawless. Even without the teleportation function it comes with, it is still considered the best among jadeite, and it is worthy of being produced by the system. Then, Yizan stepped forward and said, Mengli, it's almost time. Let's go back. After hearing this, Su Mengli wiped her tears, and then said to the tombstone, I don't know if you will worry about me, so I'll just assume that you do. You can rest assured that with Yizan by my side, I will have a great time and I'll see you again next time. After leaving the cemetery, Yizan took out the dragon and phoenix pendant and said, Mengli, I'll give you a gift. Su Mengli looked at the pair of dragon and phoenix pendants and said, Are they a pair? Yizan affirmed, Yes, and they also have very magical abilities. You will know about them later, and I will put them on for you. Naturally, she would not refuse Yizan's gift. She lowered her head slightly and asked Yizan to help her hang the phoenix pendant around her neck. Yizan also hung the dragon pendant around his neck. This was considered the first time for the two of them. A couple's jewelry. Then, Su Mengli sent Yizan back home. Although the memorial service to his parents was completed, Yizan was weak and not suitable for the long journey. Therefore, Su Mengli decided to stay in Zhongcheng for a few days and wait until Yizan's body recovered completely before returning to Shanghai University. In the next 2 days, Su Mengli came to stay with Yizan during the day, and went back to Yizan's place to stay at night. That night, Su Mengli had dinner at Yizan's house, and then returned to Yizan's big flat lair. She had just eaten hot pot together at Yizan's house. She was sweating a lot because she wasn't wearing a fairy dress with wide sleeves. Therefore, after returning, she went to the bathroom where she was planning to take a shower. However, the bathroom has a huge bathtub, which Yi Shui bought for herself. It has a constant temperature function and looks very high-end. Su Mengli had never tried this high-end bathtub. After filling the water, she saw that there were some flower petals in the bathroom. She filled the bathtub with flower petals, then took off her clothes and lay down in the bathtub. The water temperature was very suitable, and there were beautiful rose petals all around. Su Mengli lay there, smelling the pleasant fragrance of flowers, and lay there beautifully. She put one hand on the phoenix pendant on her chest, with a contented expression on her face, and she couldn't help but have random thoughts in her mind. When a young girl is pregnant, she can do nothing else while taking a bath. What else can she do except think about her sweetheart? She was thinking of Yizan, of course, and it couldn't be anyone else. She was thinking that in the future, when the two of them got married, maybe they would take a bath in this bathtub together. Do you do anything else while taking a bath? How many children will you and Yizan have in the future? Su Mengli, who was thinking wildly, didn't notice that the phoenix pendant in her hand gradually released a ray of white light, covering her body. The next second, there was no one in the bathtub, only the roses were floating. In Yizan's bedroom, he was lying on the bed and looking at his mobile phone. Suddenly he felt his arm sink, and then he saw Su Mengli appear beside him without a trace. It doesn't seem right to say that. Her body seemed to be dotted with a few rose petals, just like a mosaic in an anime, covering some key parts. She was still wet, obviously she was taking a shower a second ago. Yizan was stunned. Meng Li's figure was even better than he imagined, and her whole body looked like snow white, glowing white. Yizan could hardly move his eyes away from her. Su Mengli was also shocked. She didn't know how this could happen. After being stunned for a few seconds, she let out a piercing scream, "Ah!" It's true that Su Mengli likes Yizan, but the two of them are far from that point. Besides, she wasn't mentally prepared enough to suddenly appear in front of Yizan like this. How could she not scream? Yizan was stunned for a few seconds. Before he could say anything, there was a knock on the door. Lin Chaoju's voice was heard. "What's wrong with my son? What happened?" Su Mengli was startled when she heard the knock on the door and looked at Yizan in panic. She didn't want to appear in front of Yizan's parents like this, it would be too embarrassing. And Yizan also reacted, and he immediately said, "Come in quickly, quickly." Su Mengli reacted and quickly shrunk into the quilt, hiding her snow-white body. Then, Yizan said to the outside of the door, "Mom, I'm fine, come in." Although Yizan couldn't see the snow-white body of his beloved at this moment, the touch was more intuitive. In order to avoid being exposed, Su Mengli stuck to Yizan tightly, so that from the outside, it would not be seen that there were two people. In this way, the soft flesh of Su Mengli naturally pressed Yizan tightly, and Yizan could clearly feel the amazing elasticity contained in the softness. Then, the bedroom door opened, and Lin Chaoju walked in, looking worried, and said, "Are you really okay? I just heard a scream, and the sound was not quite right." Seeing that his mother was trying to get to the bottom of it, Yizan could only defend himself. "Sorry, Mom, I was actually watching that kind of movie just now, and I got excited and my headphones fell off." Lin Chaoju suddenly realized what was going on, and then she continued, "You are so young, why don't you learn something good? Watching too much of this stuff is harmful to your health. If you can't handle Mengli in the future, I wonder what you will do." Inside the bed, Su Mengli listened to the words of her future mother-in-law, looking embarrassed. What was she saying? It seemed like she was having a hard time dealing with it. Yizan immediately said, "Okay, I understand, Mom, please go out. I'm tired and want to rest." Lin Chaoju glared at Yizan and said, "I just remembered that you were so weak before and you were still thinking about this. How can you be as virtuous as your father?" Lin Chaoju cursed and then went out. The door was closed again. Su Mengli, who was covered in the quilt, stretched out her little head and looked around. "Is your mother out?" Yizan nodded. "Go out." Su Mengli was no longer so panicked now. After all, her body was already hidden under the quilt. Besides, she had identified Yizan. She was just scared before, but now she calmed down and felt it was nothing. After all, this is all a matter of time, and there will be more extreme things in the future. What happened just now? Why did I appear here? I remember I was taking a shower. Yizan pointed to the dragon pendant around his neck and said, "Because of this jade pendant, they have a magical effect. When we miss each other, we will be teleported to each other." After hearing this, Su Mengli's face became a little unhappy. "So, you never thought about me, it was me who thought about you, right?" Yizan didn't expect that Su Mengli's focus would be here. He immediately explained, "My body is too weak. Even if I miss you, I can't trigger this jade pendant." Su Mengli then turned from anger to joy and said, "From now on, you must miss me more than I miss you." Yizan immediately said, "I promise." Next, Su Mengli changed her position, then lay in Yizan's arms, and said, "It's getting late, go to bed early." Yizan felt his girlfriend's soft and delicate body, and his heart moved. "Aren't you going back?" Su Mengli had closed her eyes. "I have no clothes on now, do you want me to leave wrapped in sheets?" "Then let's." Su Mengli had a smile on her face. "What are we? Have you forgotten what your mother said just now? Can you cope with me in your current state?" Yizan also reacted immediately. He was just so excited that he forgot one thing. He was still in the weak stage of 8-gate Dunjia, and there was no strength at all in his body. Not to mention doing it with real swords and guns, it is quite difficult for him to turn over and hold Su Mengli under him. He does not pose any threat to Su Mengli at all. No wonder Su Mengli would lie in his arms with peace of mind. In addition to her recognition of Yizan, it was also because Yizan was powerless now, so Su Mengli didn't have the slightest worry. Of course, now that Su Mengli is here, there is no way Yizan will not take advantage. He puts his right hand on the white rabbit. Although Su Mengli blushed, he did not stop him. Yizan couldn't help but think of that children's song. Little white rabbit, white and white, with two ears standing up, so cute jumping around, so elastic, no wonder it can jump and jump. At this moment, Yizan felt quite regretful. If he had known that something like this would happen, he would not have used the 8-gate Dunjia when facing the Insect King. How great would it be to directly use that full-level experience card to kill the opponent in seconds? Now I might be able to do everything I should do and shouldn't do. Wait, full-level experience card. I wonder if the effect of the full-level experience card can cover the debilitating effects of the 8-gate Dunjia. Thinking about it, Yizan said in his heart, "System, if I use the full-level experience card, can my body recover? If the host uses the full-level experience card, it can override the weakening effect." Yizan was overjoyed. "Then what are you waiting for? Use the full-level experience card immediately." The system said again. "The host is sure you want to use the full-level experience card. The full-level experience card lasts for 10 minutes. It will expire after 10 minutes and the host will return to a weak state." As soon as the system said this, Yizan felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured on him. 10 minutes. What can you do in 10 minutes? Mengli is still a girl. For the first time, she must be gentle, right? It must take enough time to create an atmosphere, right? When everything falls into place and the process really begins, 7 or 8 minutes may pass, leaving only 1 or 2 minutes at the end. After a minute or two, the effect of the full-level experience card ended, and I fell into a weak state, unable to recover. If this was true, then my first experience with Mengli was too bad, right? Doesn't that mean he really agrees with what his mother just said, that she can't handle Su Mengli? How could Yizan, a good man, suffer such humiliation? At this moment, Yizan had already imagined a picture in his mind. After the full-level experience card ended, she slumped there helplessly. Su Mengli looked at herself with contempt. Auntie is really right, you are really useless. The more Yi Zhan thought about it, the more terrifying he became. He hurriedly put this scene behind him, and then comforted himself. It's okay, it's his, sooner or later it will be his, and Mengli can't run away. I'll find another chance later. Yi Zhan completely let go of his lustful thoughts. Due to his weak body, he fell into a deep sleep soon. Su Mengli also closed her eyes. At about 5 o'clock, Su Mengli woke up. She looked at Yi Zhan, who was still sleeping, kissed Yi Zhan on the face, then stood up and started to get dressed. Of course, she came here while taking a shower, and there were no clothes of hers in the bedroom, so she had no choice but to wear Yi Zhan's clothes first. Yi Zhan's clothes didn't have much of a problem, except for the tightness around her chest, which made her feel a little uncomfortable. However, at this time, Su Mengli couldn't care so much. If it were later, Yi Zhan's parents would come and ask Yi Zhan to get up, and she wouldn't be able to leave. Therefore, she wore Yi Zhan's clothes, left the bedroom secretly, and then quietly left the Yi family villa. At around 8 o'clock, Yi Zhan woke up. Meng Li was no longer there. Yi Zhan felt a little disappointed. He was so unlucky that he didn't seize such a precious opportunity. Next time, Meng Li will definitely not accidentally activate teleportation while taking a shower. What a pity. He glanced at his phone and saw a text message from Meng Li, saying that he had returned to Yi Shui's flat floor. Being so weak, he couldn't do anything but wait for clothes to come to stretch out his hands and food to open his mouth. At this moment, in an express hotel, 3 men and 1 woman were discussing something together, and one of them was Yi Zhen, who had had his hand chopped off by Yi Zhan before. Yi Zhen's hand was unable to catch it in the end. At this moment, a titanium alloy hook was embedded in his right hand, which looked very domineering. Yi Zhen took a completely different path from his previous life. Because he lost a hand, even if he was an A-level talent, his own value was greatly affected. On the other hand, the conversation between Yi Zhen and Yi Zhan was also spread by Yi Shui. Yi Zhen, a man who had just awakened, did not put the lives of ordinary people in his eyes. He said it and did it openly, so many colleges and universities did not dare to accept him. Therefore, Yi Zhen had no connection with the awakened college of the university. However, when he was at his most desperate, someone came to him. The spiritual energy revived and the world changed. Since the spiritual energy revived, all kinds of evil heretics have come out and made trouble. In Zhongcheng, there is such an organization called Zhengqi sect. The Zhengqi Gate was established on the eve of the official announcement of the revival of spiritual energy, and the initiator was an independent awakener. He gathered a group of people who had awakened independently and established the Zhengqi sect. The original intention was to fight against alien beasts. At the same time, he cooperated with the officials to perform some tasks in exchange for rewards. At first, there was no problem with Zhengqimen, but later, something happened to the founder of Zhengqimen, and Zhengqimen changed its leader. Since then, the nature of Zhengqimen has gradually changed, turning into a group of lunatics who will not break their hands for resources and interests. Yi Zhen, a proud and arrogant awakened person who had one of his hands cut off, was pessimistic and world-weary, and had an A-level talent, Heart of the Earth. Such a person was perfect for the Zhengqi sect. In order to gain Yi Zhen's allegiance, Zhengqimen arranged for several people to help Yi Zhen kill his enemies, Yi Zhan's family. Today, they are planning how to act. I heard the only woman among the 4 say, Yi Zhen, we are upright and will never treat our own people badly. We will take action tonight. Once we have their family under control, you can do whatever you want. I promise you such a bad breath. After hearing what the woman said, Yi Zhen used his remaining left hand to stroke the titanium alloy hook on his right arm and said word by word, I will torture their family to death before I can express my bad breath. The woman smiled and said, no problem at all, I bribed their nanny and got a lot of information. Coincidentally, his son has also returned in the past few days, and it is said that he has been injured and is very weak. He does not pose a threat to us. The only pity is that their eldest daughter is not here, so we cannot send him on the road together. Quote. Yi Zhen sneered. Then let Yi Shui live a few more days, sooner or later I will not let them go. The woman continued. Then let's take action tonight. When the time comes, I will take action first to make them lose their ability to resist. The rest will be easy to handle. This woman's nickname in Jungchiman is Black Widow. Her ability is poison, and her ability strength is level B. When she activates her ability, she can release a strange fragrance. This kind of fragrance can paralyze people's bodies, lose their ability to move, and let others slaughter them. Even the body of an awakened person will be affected to a certain extent, which is very practical. As for the other two people, they are completely used as thugs. One of them is muscle enhancement, and the other is a strength king. Their abilities are reflected in pure strength. They are used to sweep Yi Zhen's formation to ensure that this operation is foolproof. As night fell, Su Mengli lay on the bed in Yi Shui's large flat bed, wearing pajamas. However, after lying alone for a while, she felt lonely. Sleeping by herself was far less peaceful than being in Yi Zhan's arms. How about teleporting over and sleeping with Yi Zhan? If Yi Zhan was alive and kicking, Su Mengli would really not dare to go there so easily. She was afraid that Yi Zhan would cause trouble. There were some things that she was not ready for. However, Yi Zhan is now weak, and has no ability to do anything bad. She can sleep with Yi Zhan without worrying about being eaten. After making this decision, Su Mengli waited. It was a little early now. If Yi Zhan was in the living room, wouldn't he be caught by his uncle and aunt? If it's later, after 10 o'clock, Yi Zhan will definitely teleport there alone in the bedroom, so there's nothing to worry about. Finally, when 10 o'clock arrived, Su Mengli held the phoenix pendant in her hand and silently missed Yi Zhan in her heart. The next second, she felt the world spinning in front of her eyes, and then the scene in front of her quickly changed. She also came from her bedroom to Yi Zhan's bedroom. The moment Su Mengli appeared, Yi Zhan and Su Mengli immediately looked at each other. After being stunned for a moment, Yi Xuankai said, "Why are you here again?" Su Mengli suddenly felt unhappy and said, "You don't like me coming? Then I'll leave." When Yi Zhan saw it, he hurriedly grabbed Su Mengli's arm and pulled gently. Su Mengli was immediately pulled into his arms. Su Mengli just pretended. She didn't really want to leave, otherwise, with Yi Zhan's current powerless state, he wouldn't be able to easily pull her away. Then, Yi Zhan hugged Su Mengli's body and said, "Of course I like it, but I'm a little surprised." After hearing this, Su Mengli put her head close to Yi Zhan's chest, and then said, "I no longer have my parents, and I live alone in Sister Yi Shui's house. Without you, I feel too lonely, so I came here." Quote. After hearing this, Yi Zhan hugged Su Mengli's body tighter. "Don't worry, I will be here from now on. I will always guard you and never leave." Su Mengli nodded, then her breathing gradually became steady, and she quickly fell asleep. Yi Zhan looked at Su Mengli's beautiful cheeks and the faint smile on her face, and said silently in his heart, "Mengli, I will protect the smile on your face. I will." Thinking about it, Yi Zhan was about to fall asleep, but at this moment, he only heard a loud bang. The sound came from the door of the villa, as if the door of the villa had been knocked down by an armored vehicle. The movement was very loud. Su Mengli, who had just fallen asleep, was suddenly woken up. She opened her eyes and said, "What's wrong?" Yi Zhan's expression changed slightly and said, "Something must have happened. Let's go out and take a look." When Su Mengli heard that something happened, her expression changed. She immediately supported Yi Zhan, and the two of them went out to check the situation. Yi Zhan and Su Mengli had just gone out, and the lights in the living room were turned on. Yi Chengzong and Lin Chaoju also came out to check on the situation. Yi Chengzong, his wife and Yi Zhan, the young couple, suddenly stared at each other with big eyes. Lin Chaoju looked at Su Mengli, who was beautiful and hot in pajamas, and said unexpectedly, "Mengli, why are you here?" Su Mengli's face suddenly turned red. Although she and Yi Zhan did not have any substantial relationship, sleeping on the same bed really couldn't be true anymore. Now that Yi Zhan's parents broke it, this was also so embarrassing. Lin Chaoju saw Su Mengli's face turn red and instantly understood what was going on. She rolled her eyes at Yi Chengzong and said, "He is indeed your son. He is exactly the same as you. His body is so weak and he still doesn't forget about it. No wonder I make chicken soup every day and my body can't recover." Yi Zhan immediately said, "Mom, it's not what you think. I'm so weak now, what can we do?" Mengli is just afraid that I will be alone, so come and stay with me. Not to mention Lin Chaoju didn't believe this, even Yi Chengzong didn't believe it. Yi Chengzong smiled and said, okay, you don't need to explain anything. We are very satisfied with Mengli's child. We have nothing to say when you are together. It's just that you are so weak now. Young people, please pay attention to moderation. Yi Zan was also helpless. He obviously didn't do anything, so he should pay attention to moderation. What is moderation? He wanted to explain something, but he heard another loud noise, and then a cold voice came, Yi Chengzong, Yi Zan, get out of here and die. In the living room, Yi Zan's expression changed slightly, it's this little beast, Yi Zhen. Lin Chaoju's expression changed. What should we do now? Yi Zan said calmly, it's okay, Mengli is here. Even if Yi Zhen, that boy, gets some opportunities, it's nothing. Besides, there's still me. Yi Chengzong said, it's difficult for you to kill a chicken now, so it's up to me. Yi Chengzong said, and went to his study. A few minutes later, he came out with a sword. Yi Zan said unexpectedly, Dad, can you still play with a sword? Yi Chengzong made a sword dance with his sword, and then said proudly, if I hadn't married your mother, you might have joined the national martial arts team now. Not to be outdone, Lin Chaoju went to the kitchen to get a kitchen knife, then looked at her husband, son, and daughter-in-law, and said, let's go into battle together as a family. Let's meet this Yi Zhen for a while. He dares to hurt my family. I chopped him with a knife. Next, the family walked out of the living room in high spirits, and then came to the courtyard of the villa, which was brightly lit like daylight. A nanny also came out. She walked up to Yi Zhen and the others. I took your money and provided you with information. I won't participate in the next thing. Can I leave? Yi Zhen mocked. Okay, let's go. The nanny thought that Yi Zhen would really let her go, so she hurriedly walked out as if she was amnesty. However, after she had taken only a few steps, the person with the gift of muscle strengthening suddenly chased after her, and then punched the nanny in the head. The nanny's head exploded like a watermelon, and she fell to the ground, lifeless. Then, Yi Zhen mocked, idiot, you know so much, is it possible for me to let you go? You really have no brains at all. Yi Zan looked at Yi Zhen and said, I haven't seen you for a month. You have made some progress. But, who gave you the courage to appear in front of me? Yi Zhen said coldly, Yi Zan, don't be crazy. I am no longer what I used to be. I brought 3 friends here today just to make your whole family's life worse than death. Yi Chengzong said coldly, little beast, you are just like your father, a wolf-hearted beast, let me educate you. Yi Chengzong said, holding the sword and rushing forward, but before he could take a few steps, his body suddenly felt weak and he knelt directly on the ground. He could not hold the sword steadily and fell to the side. Lin Chaoju saw it and cursed, it's really useless at all, look at me. Lin Chaoju carried the kitchen knife and rushed forward. When he walked to Yi Chengzong's side, he suddenly felt weak all over and his limbs went limp. He also fell next to Yi Chengzong. Lin Chaoju suddenly looked embarrassed. She had just scolded her husband for being useless, and he was already following in his footsteps. Yi Zan's expression changed. Dad, Mom, are you okay? Yi Chengzong smiled bitterly and said, it's nothing, I'm just weak. Maybe I'm scared. After hearing this, Yi Zan looked at Su Mengli and said, Mengli, these people are left to you. Su Mengli nodded, and with a thought, red lotus karma appeared all over her body. Then, above the karma red lotus, mythical beasts such as the Suzaku, the fire phoenix, the fire kilin, the 3-legged golden crow, etc. appeared. The fire phoenix flew out and landed in front of Lin Chaoju and Yi Chengzong, protecting them both. Su Mengli's move made the Zhengqimen's expressions change. Black Widow frowned and said, what's going on? Why are there still awakened ones? Their target was Yi Zan's family, and they were sure that Yi Zan was weak, and they knew nothing about Su Mengli. After all, he was an SSS level awakener, and the level of confidentiality was still very high. Except for Su Mengli's classmates at the time and the staff of the university's admissions office, no one else knew about it. The current Su Mengli is not yet the Red Lotus Empress who will grow up in the future, so very few people know about her. After hearing what Black Widow said, Yi Zhen said coldly, so what? Just beat her to death. Yi Zhen said, striding towards Su Mengli. His ability development has also improved a lot, although the progress is not as good as that of the students at Shanghai University. But as an A-level ability user, his development rate is now over 5%, and he can simply use some of the Heart of the Earth's abilities. I saw Yi Zhen running forward and hitting the ground hard. Several rocks flew up, and then flew towards Su Mengli with great force. Su Mengli directly controlled the fire unicorn and flew towards the stones. The stone and the fire unicorn collided together, and then the fire unicorn disappeared into smoke. However, when the few pieces flew over, they turned into burning flaming stones. They flew towards Yi Zhen and others at a faster speed. Yi Zhen was unable to dodge and was hit by a piece of flint. The strength of the flint was not very great, but the flames burning on it were too terrifying. The hot flame melted his clothes instantly, and then stuck to his belly. Then, the flesh and blood on his belly melted equally quickly. The flint was embedded directly into his body, burning several internal organs in his abdomen before the flames were finally extinguished. However, Yi Zhen's internal organs were burned away, and stones replaced the internal organs and were embedded in his abdomen. This kind of pain can be imagined. His body struggled violently and wailed. After more than 10 seconds, he completely lost his movement. Black Widow and the other two awakened people were all shocked. Their strength was not much stronger than Yi Zhen. Yi Zhen was instantly defeated. How strong could they be? Moreover, Su Mengli's ability is so overbearing, and his level is very high at first glance. He is not something he can fight against. Therefore, the three of them looked at each other and decided to run away. Unfortunately, Su Mengli was not prepared to give them this opportunity. Su Mengli can be a little indecisive at times, but at critical moments, she can kill decisively. Because these people threatened Yi Zhan's safety and threatened the safety of his future parents-in-law. It is impossible for her and Yi Zhan to stay in Zhongcheng forever. What if these people come back and hurt her parents-in-law after she and Yi Zhan return to Shanghai University? Not to mention her own mood, her beloved boy must be very sad, right? Therefore, these people must not be allowed to escape. We must eradicate the roots and do it cleanly. Next, I saw the Suzaku, the three-legged golden crow, and the fire phoenix that had been guarding Yi Zhan's parents, each chasing the three of them at extremely fast speeds. The red lotus karma fire bombarded the three of them, and then burned violently. Needless to say, Black Widow's abilities were completely defeated by Su Mengli. Her poisonous energy could not enter Su Mengli's body and would be eliminated by the red lotus karma fire. But she couldn't resist Su Mengli's flames, and her body instantly vaporized and disappeared completely. As for the other two ability users, one has strengthened muscles and the other has strength. Although their physical strength is not bad, they are far behind the level of red lotus karma fire. A strong body only makes them more resistant to burning as fuel. The muscle strengthening burned for 5 seconds, and the Force King burned for 8 seconds, and then they also turned into fly ash, completely evaporating from the world. Black Widow's abilities are time-sensitive. They only have effects when she is alive. They have no effect after she dies. Therefore, once Black Widow died, both Yi Chengzong and Lin Chaoju regained their ability to move. They looked at this scene in stunned silence. Mengli, is this your ability? It's really amazing. Yi Zhan said proudly. Of course, Mengli's talent is among the best in the world. Yi Chengzong heard this with a look of contempt on his face. Look at Mengli, and then look at yourself, the gap is too big, right? Yi Zhan was immediately unconvinced and said, actually, I am also very strong, but I have been injured these past few days and am a little weak. Su Mengli also said, yes, Yi Zhan is actually more powerful than me, he is just injured. Yi Chengzong smiled and said, come on Mengli, you don't have to speak for him anymore. As parents, no matter how weak our son is, will we still dislike him? There's no need for you to put gold on his face. Lin Chaoju also said, yes, we are all open-minded. In modern society, what's wrong with strong women and weak men? Isn't it normal? Anyway, we have recognized you as our daughter-in-law. From now on, you can live here openly, no need to be secretive. Quote. Su Mengli couldn't argue with this matter. If she were to leave at this time, she would really be without 300 taels of silver. Therefore, she could only say, okay, then I won't bother my uncle and aunt in the next few days. Yi Chengzong smiled and said, "Don't bother me, what's the point of bothering me?" Lin Chaoju said, "By the way, I will tidy up the room for you tomorrow. You can move to the master bedroom on the 3rd floor. The bed in that bedroom is larger and the sound insulation effect is better." As soon as these words came out, Su Mengli and Yi Zan were both ashamed and panicked, but Lin Chaoju didn't care and went back to the room with her husband. Then, Su Mengli controlled a fire phoenix and pounced on Yi Zhen. Yi Zhen's body quickly burned and was burned away in a few seconds, leaving no bones left. Yi Zan looked at this scene and said, "Mengli, is this your second time to kill someone? How do you feel?" Su Mengli had carried out several missions at Modu University and killed many strange beasts, but this was only the second time she had attacked people. Killing someone would be somewhat uncomfortable, and Yi Zan wanted to comfort his girlfriend. However, Su Mengli said calmly, "I don't feel anything. If they want to hurt you, I will kill them." After hearing Su Mengli's words, Yi Zan felt warm in his heart. His efforts were really worth it. Immediately, Yi Zan and Su Mengli returned to the room. Because Yi Zan was too weak and it was difficult to go upstairs, Su Mengli simply installed a pair of flame wings on Yi Zan's back. She controlled the flame wings and slowly moved forward with Yi Zan floating about half a meter in the air, allowing Yi Zan to experience the feeling of flying in the air. After returning to the bedroom, Yi Zan called Lin Shu. "Dean Lin, Mengli and I were attacked." Lin Shu said unexpectedly, "We were attacked again. Why are you so unlucky? Is it another strange beast this time?" "No, this time it's the awakened. One of them is my former enemy, and I don't know the others. I feel they are an organization composed of a group of awakened. Mengli and I have nothing to worry about. We have killed everyone who came. I am just worried that when we return to the academy, this organization will take action against my parents." Quote. Lin Shu listened and said, "Is that so? If so, then I'll leave this matter to you to resolve." Yi Zan was stunned for a moment. "I will solve it." "How should I solve it?" Lin Shu replied, "The Qianlong project is about to start. You and Su Mengli will both be members of the Qianlong project. You can also get in touch with some things in advance. Later, I will give you a website. The account number is your ID number and the password is your student number. The same goes for Mengli. On that website, you can find a solution to this matter. This can be considered a test." Quote. Yi Zan wanted to ask something else, but Lin Shu didn't say anything more and hung up the phone directly. After a while, Lin Shu sent over a website address. Yi Zan and Su Mengli talked about it, and then they logged into the website with their ID numbers and student ID numbers respectively. Before logging in, there was nothing on the page and nothing could be seen. After logging in, it suddenly turned into a forum page. At the top of the forum, there are 5 big characters, Awakened Forum. Below, there are 3 sections, namely the Task Area, Communication Area and Recharge Center. Yi Zan clicked into the task area at will, and then saw the tasks one by one. Liancheng's defense line is in urgent need, and a large number of awakened people are recruited, with no limit on ability, and rewards will be determined based on combat merit. A group of mutated bats suddenly appeared in Yancheng, recruiting 10 elemental awakeners, and rewarding each person with 10 spirit stones to start. There are people with awakened invisibility abilities in the capital who are causing trouble in women's bathhouses and restrooms. Looking for those with related restraint abilities, we will reward you with 30 spirit stones. Yi Zan took a general look at the mission area. They were basically missions to resist alien beasts or deal with some unruly awakened people. Next, he clicked into the communication area. The communication area seemed much more lively, mainly for some awakened people to exchange their experiences in practice. Physical system vs elemental system, which power is stronger in the later stage? This is the best of times and the worst of times. Awakening talent determines destiny. How to let your child win at the starting line. Yellow Emperor's Classic Collection. Unlock ancient postures and give birth to S-level geniuses. Wang's Barbecue Restaurant is recruiting C-level fire-type awakened barbecue apprentices, with a monthly church package distribution. The communication area is a mixed bag of dragons and snakes. Those who share their experiences with awakened people are mostly advertising and selling things. Yi Zan looked at it for a while and suddenly realized, isn't this the survivor forum for future generations? In his previous life, Yizan only came into contact with this website many years later. At that time, this forum was no longer called the Awakened Forum. Due to the attacks of alien beasts, more than half of the world's humans have been killed or injured, and the situation is grim. After that, this forum was open to the outside world and was called the Survivor Forum. The only purpose of the Survivor Forum was to allow more survivors to survive. Now, the situation is not that serious yet, and this forum seems to be only open to some awakened people with strength or potential. Therefore, Yizan and Su Mengli were able to access this forum in advance. It has not yet changed its name and the content is quite rich. Yizan also understood why Lin Shu asked him to solve this problem. There is a recharge center on the Awakened Forum. The recharge center corresponds to spirit stones. One spirit stone represents 1 point. Spirit stones and points can be exchanged for each other. If someone wants to publish a task, they can directly use points to publish it. As long as they give enough spirit stones, there will definitely be many people who are interested. When the time comes, it will be easy for Yizan to figure out the identity of the group of people who attacked him. Then, Yizan directly opened the recharge center. It was related to the safety of his parents and there was no room for any delay. At the recharge center, you can fill in the recharge amount at will, but the recharge points will not be credited until 24 hours later. At the same time, after clicking to recharge, the relevant personnel will receive the relevant spiritual stones within 24 hours. If you are unable to pay the spirit stones and pretend to be malicious, your account will be banned and you will not be able to log into the Awakened Forum in the future, eliminating the possibility of fraud. Yizan has the star pendant and has no shortage of spiritual stones, and the points on the Awakened Forum are valuable until the human order completely collapses. Therefore, Yizan was not worried that the spirit stones would be in vain. He directly recharged 500 points and then logged into the forum. Before the points were received, Yizan could not publish the task. At this time, Su Mengli said, "The dean asked us to use this forum to issue tasks to solve this matter." Yizan nodded and said, "Yes, but the dean's purpose should not only be this, it may also be related to the Qianlong project. When the points arrive, we will issue a task to confirm the home base and strength of that group of people. If we can handle it, wait for me to recover and we will solve it together." Quote. Yizan's previous life identity was not enough. At this time, he had no contact with the Awakened Forum, let alone the Qianlong project. However, Yizan could roughly judge the purpose of the country's announcement of the Qianlong project through some previous events. Yizan casually browsed through the Awakened Forum today and could see that the majority of the forums were those who had awakened independently. The Spirit Ball Awakeners who awaken in batches generally have insufficient ability development and are not qualified to take on these tasks. Most of the resources obtained by these autonomous awakeners from performing tasks were allocated to the academic faction. They were quite dissatisfied in their hearts, but they did not break out because of national justice. However, it was impossible for them to let this emotion accumulate. As for the Qianlong project, on the one hand, the upper management will focus on cultivating a group of elite core figures of the academy. On the other hand, it will also allow the elites of the academy to show their strength in this awakened forum. Let the awakened members of the Zhonghu sect see how fast the core and elites of these academic sects are growing and how limitless their future will be. In this way, both parties can live in harmony and jointly resist the alien beasts. Therefore, if the investigation is clear this time and the strength of the people behind Yi Zhen is within the controllable range, Yizan will personally take action and send them on their way. There was nothing going on in the forum, so Yizan said to Su Mengli, "Mengli, it's very late, let's take a rest." Su Mengli had been sleeping with Yizan for 2 days, and she was not shy at all. She lay directly next to Yizan and rested her head on Yizan's arm skillfully. Yizan hugged the soft body of the empress, feeling full of accomplishment. It was a good thing that Mengli could get used to sleeping with him. Although I am currently in a weak stage, 4 days have passed so far. In 4 more days, I will be back to full strength. By then, he. The next morning, a courier from Passepartout Express Company came to Yizan. He was carrying a suitcase and said, "Mr. Yi, you recharged 500 points on the Awakened Forum yesterday. Please pay 500 spirit stones." Yizan didn't waste any time and directly handed the prepared box of spiritual stones to the other party. The courier checked it carefully, then transferred all the spirit stones to the suitcase he brought over, and then left without any nonsense. Before the courier left the house, a prompt popped up on Yizan's phone. Ding, the 500 points you recharged have arrived. I wish you a happy life. When Yizan saw the points arrived, he directly posted the task on it. Investigate the identity, background, strength, location, etc. of an awakened organization in Zhongcheng. This is the title of the mission, and inside are the details of the mission. Yizan gave a rough overview of the abilities and appearances of those people. The ability of those people, that woman used poison, was very simple. Yizan also knew Yi Zhen's ability very well. Moreover, Yi Zhen was missing one hand, and his left hand was a titanium alloy hook with distinctive features. The number of awakened people in Zhongcheng is limited. These people form an organization. Other awakened people must be aware of it. It is not difficult to find them. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, and because he was wealthy, Yizan directly offered a reward of 100 spiritual stones. As long as you can provide the specific strength and location of this awakened organization, you can get a reward of 100 spirit stones. In just 2 days, Yizan's reward was responded to. Someone provided Yizan with the location and strength of this group of people. Yizan took a general look and found that he could handle it by himself. The location was relatively remote, but it was also more convenient for him to do it himself. Yizan had 3 days to confirm the authenticity of this information. Within 3 days, if Yizan cannot prove that the information provided by the other party is false, the other party will receive 100 points, which can be exchanged for spiritual stones. There are still 2 days until Yizan is out of his weak state. Therefore, Yizan can only wait until his body recovers completely before he can take action. Another 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Yizan's body finally got rid of its weak state. His energy and energy were completely different in an instant. He was full of energy and energy. It was now noon, and Yizan came to Su Mengli. Mengli, my body has recovered. Now, let's go find the Zhengqi gate. Su Mengli was also quite happy and said, you finally recovered, let's go. Then, Yizan said hello to his parents, and then drove Su Mengli out in his father's car. More than half an hour later, the car stopped a few kilometers away from a farmhouse. According to the information Yizan got from the Awakened Forum, all the current staff of this farmhouse are members of the Zhengqi sect, and there are about 9 people in total. The strongest one, without a doubt, is the owner of this farmhouse, who is also an A-level autonomous awakener. The opponent's awakened ability is an A-level Vajra indestructible body, and the ability development rate is between 30 and 40%. If the intelligence is true, Yizan can deal with it. However, Yizan is still more cautious. What if the information is not true? What if the opponent's ability development is too high and I can't handle it? Therefore, Yizan parked the car far away and asked Mengli to wait in the car. He walked to the farmhouse to investigate the situation. If Yizan can deal with it, he can do it alone. If he can't deal with it, even if Su Mengli is here, her ability development is low and she will not be able to determine the outcome of this battle. When the time comes, Yizan can just use the dragon and phoenix pendant to teleport away. As for the Zhengqi sect, he can only consume spiritual stones and directly hire stronger awakeners to deal with them. A few minutes later, Yizan arrived at the door of the farmhouse. As soon as he came over, he saw a young man standing furtively at the door. When he saw Yizan, there was a look of surprise on his face, and he immediately walked up cautiously. You posted the mission on the forum, right? Investigate the Zhengqi gate. Yizan was stunned for a moment. You are. I took the mission, and I also provided you with the information. Our Zhengqi sect was originally established by the owner of the farmhouse. It is a decent organization of awakened people. Later, the boss died fighting against the beast, and Zhengqimin was taken over by our chef. This guy is not a good guy. Not only did he occupy our landlady, but the Zhengqi gate was also in a mess. I had long been dissatisfied with him. When I saw this task on the forum, I took it immediately. Quote. When Yizan heard this, he immediately said, so that's it. It seems that this new sect leader is unpopular. Are you sure that his ability development rate is between 30 and 40% of the time? The other party affirmed. I am his subordinate, I am very sure of this. Yizan breathed a sigh of relief and continued. Then are there anyone else who threatens him? It should be gone. Besides, I have decided to abandon the dark side and turn to the bright side. My ability is AB level ground stab. I am very good at sneak attacks. I will work with you to ensure that I take down this guy. Okay, that's settled. Later, this traitor from the Jungchi sect took Yizan into the farmhouse. After walking a few steps, a voice said, Okay, Luzi, you have indeed betrayed the sect master. Luzi's face changed. Have you discovered it? Brothers, let's do it together and kill this kid. But the man hurriedly said, Don't. I am joking with you, do you still take it seriously? I am a spy planted by the awakened college of Zhongcheng University. The original sect leader of the Jungchi sect, who was on good terms with our vice president, died unexpectedly. After the Jungchi sect was taken over by the new sect leader, it became a mess and caused chaos everywhere. Our Academy of Awakeners has decided to clean up the Jungchi gate. Unexpectedly, someone took action first. Just in time, everyone stood shoulder to shoulder and destroyed him. Quote. Yizan felt strange after hearing this. Then how do you prove your identity? The man took out his student ID card directly from his body and said, This is the proof. I always carry my student ID card with me to remind myself. If you don't believe it, you can call Zhongcheng University Awakening College to confirm that I identity of. Yizan saw that the student ID card didn't look fake, so he said directly, Okay, I believe you, let's go. After the three of them had walked a few steps, another person jumped out. This time, Yizan knew the guy. He was Zheng Yi from the Zhongcheng Police Department. Yizan had saved him once before when he faced an awakened king crab. Yizan looked at him blankly. Brother Zheng, why are you here? Zheng Yi sighed and said, Don't mention it, I experienced the king crab incident before. I woke up not long after, and started to do some tasks related to awakened people for your Aunt Wei. Now that the new leader of the Jungchi sect is suspected of murder, rape, etc., I started working undercover around him to collect evidence and look for opportunities. I didn't expect this guy to be so crazy that he would arrange for someone to attack you. Now, the evidence is conclusive and I don't need to continue to be an undercover agent. Let's just go together. Even if he has an indestructible body, we'll beat him to death. You two are. Yizan pointed to the two people beside him and said, They are colleagues like you, and they are all undercover here. The bad feeling in Yizan's heart became more and more intense. Sure enough, as Yizan and the others continued to go deeper, one after another the staff of the farmhouse abandoned the dark side and turned to the bright side. Some of them are from other more righteous awakened organizations, and some are die-hard loyalists of the original Jungchi sect leader and are very dissatisfied with the new sect leader. In short, everyone has enough reasons to prove that he is an undercover agent. When Yizan and other people came to the backyard and saw the master of the Jungchi sect, there were already 8 people behind Yizan. As for the Jungchi sect, there were originally 13 people, but Yizan killed 4 of them, leaving 9. There are already 8 people behind Yizan. In other words, now the entire Jungchi sect, except for the sect leader, the rest are all undercovers. What a miserable sect leader. In the backyard, the current master of the Jungchiman sect was half lying on a lounge chair, sipping tea. He looked relaxed and content. Seeing his younger brothers suddenly coming over, the sect leader was dissatisfied and said, What are you doing? You have nothing to do. Wang Tizu, your death has come. A guy like you is not worthy of being the master of the Jungchi sect. That's right, look at what a mess you've made of the Jungchi gate. You deserve to die. Master, you've been pretty good to me since I came here, but I'm sorry, I'm a policeman. Behind Yizan, the 8 undercover agents came forward one by one, accusing the sect leader Wang Tizu of his fault. Wang Tizu was shocked. Are you all undercover? That's right, 8 people said in unison. Wang Tizu became angry and shouted loudly, I will kill you. Wang Tizu directly activated his ability. Suddenly, the muscles all over his body bulged, and his indestructible body was fully activated, and then he attacked the 8 people around him. These 8 people are not as good as Wang Tizu in terms of ability level and development level. Otherwise, why would they be considered undercover agents? They bombarded Wang Tizu with various abilities and attacked Wang Tizu, only breaking Wang Tizu's clothes. Wang Tizu himself didn't do anything wrong. Instead, he attacked the people around him arrogantly. Several people were unable to dodge and were directly knocked away. Fortunately, Wang Tizu's ability is the most defensive, and his strength is not outstanding. Therefore, although he knocked several people away, they were not seriously injured. Wang Tizu looked fierce and slapped his chest with both hands, like a violent chimpanzee. Because he activated the Vajra indestructible body, he hit his chest with his fist, making a crackling sound of gold and iron. You are just a bunch of trash, you want to go against me. You are not worthy of even tickling me. After Wang Tizu Wagang finished speaking, he saw a figure punching him. Wang Tizu was not afraid and punched him head-on. The terrifying forces collided, the shock wave spread, the ground shook violently, and dust flew up. Yi Zan didn't move at all, but Wang Tizu's body flew backward like a cannonball. Immediately, Yi Zan jumped up, condescendingly stepped on Wang Tizu, and Wang Tizu rolled over in a hurry to avoid the kick. The next second, Yi Zan punched him again, and Wang Tizu hurriedly used his arms to block it. However, Yi Zan's dragon elephant prison suppressing body was higher than him in level, and the development level was not too far behind him. Therefore, he is not Yi Zan's opponent at all. Wang Tizu only felt that his body was indestructible, and his arm was numb and sore from the shock. And then, Yi Zan raised his fist again and smashed it down hard, once, twice, 3 times. Wang Tizu's body was hit by Yi Zan's punches one after another, like a pile driven, and it hit the ground hard. It looked miserable. His face also turned the color of pig liver, and his body was so sore that he could hardly move. Of course, even so, Wang Tizu was still far from death, not even seriously injured. A-level Vajra was indestructible and focused on defense. Yi Zan was stronger than him, but it was very difficult to kill him. At this moment, Wang Tizu had a grimace on his face and said, "Stop fighting. I'll admit defeat. Is it okay if I admit defeat?" Then, the 8 people behind Yi Zan came forward with some chains and the like and controlled Wang Tizu. Wang Tizu felt sore all over his body, and seeing that his 8 eldest brothers all looked like villains at this moment, he controlled himself. He couldn't help but feel sad and burst into tears. Am I just a cook? Do you need to arrange so many undercover agents? You are bullying honest people. Ooh. The Iron Man shed tears, and everyone looked at him sideways. Even Yi Zan felt that Wang Tizu was a bit pitiful. Isn't he just a cook? Arranging so many undercover agents is too bullying. This Zhengqi sect has completely collapsed. Except for the sect leader, all of them are undercovers. The sect leader has been arrested, so naturally others don't need to care. And Yi Zan also learned from several undercover agents that actually Yi Zhen wanted revenge this time. The sect owner originally arranged for undercover agents to cooperate with Yi Zhen. However, the undercover agents did not want to reveal their identities yet, so they found reasons to refuse. Wang Tizu's arrangement, therefore, the 3 people who went to accompany Yi Zhen on the mission were the only 3 who were not undercover. In addition, the undercover agents also leaked the actions of Yi Zhen and others to the relevant departments in advance. That night, there were actually many awakened people ambushing outside. If Su Mengli or Yi Zan were not opponents, there would be others immediately. The awakened ones swarmed up and captured all these people. Therefore, Jiang Qimin's action cannot be successful from beginning to end, and Yi Zhen is also too tragic. If you want to be black, just be black, right? Which organization is not good to join? If you join the Zhengqi Gate, which is full of undercover agents, who will die if you don't die? Later, Yi Zan controlled Wang Tizu and then got into the car with Zheng Yi. Yi Zan was ready to hand over Wang Tizu to the police. As for the others, there was no room for them in the car, so they had to find their own way home. Half an hour later, Yi Zan sent Zheng Yi and Wang Tizu to the police station, and then took Su Mengli home. However, after parking the car, Su Mengli did not get out of the car. Yi Zan, please take me to Sister Yi Shui's place. Yi Zan was stunned for a moment. Why? Su Mengli stretched out her hand and tapped Yi Zan's forehead. Your body has recovered. It's not appropriate for me to continue living here. Yi Zan was a little reluctant, but Su Mengli stretched out her hand and pinched Yi Zan's face. But what? My birthday has just passed, but yours hasn't passed yet. Yizan was immediately overjoyed. You mean, after my 18th birthday? Yizan has always been protecting Su Mengli. He has memories of his previous life and is indeed more mature. But in fact, he is younger than Su Mengli. His 18th birthday has not passed yet. He is still a baby chicken. After hearing Yizan's words, Su Mengli blushed and said duplicitously, I didn't say anything. I have something to do, so I'm going back first. After Su Mengli finished speaking, she picked up her bag and got out of the car as if running for her life. Yizan, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. 18th birthday, 18th birthday. At this moment, the system prompt sounded in his mind. Congratulations to the host, the favorability of my partner Su Mengli has been increased to 90 points, and the talent has been improved once. Please keep up the host's efforts, and the favorability reaches 100. There will be a big surprise waiting for you. Host. Today is really a double blessing. On my 18th birthday, I can end my career as a child. At the same time, my favorability level has reached 90 points and I can improve it again. It's really great. Yizan said directly. Promote. Congratulations to the host, your talent has been upgraded from S-level Dragon Elephant Prison Suppressing Body to SS-level Heaven Dominating Body. Yizan was quite surprised when he heard this rather domineering name, and he immediately looked at the information about Kangtian Ba Ti. Kangtian Ba Body. Also known as Kangtian Ba Blood, its blood is purple, which is a great medicine in the world and has the power to extend life and heal injuries. Hegemon possesses 9 divine forms at the same time, namely the True Dragon, Suzaku, Black Tortoise, White Tiger, Phoenix, Kirin, Kunpeng, Divine Bell, and Ancestor Body. They are the most rigid and powerful, indestructible, and are not tolerated by heaven and earth. They are the incarnation of blood and sin. Remind the host that due to the improvement of the host's ability, the ability development level of the host has decreased. Please check the host. The degree of ability development is reduced, which is within Yizan's expectation. After all, the ability has been improved, which is equivalent to an increase in the upper limit of potential. However, the energy accumulated by oneself has not changed, so the degree of ability development will decrease accordingly. Yizan's original ability development rate reached 24%, but now, after his ability has been upgraded to Kangtian Hegemony, his ability development rate is only 8%, which is exactly 1/3 of the original level. Immediately, Yizan said, comparing the development level of the system, S level and SS level, is the difference 3 times. Yizan's strength in his previous life was too low. As a C-level ability user, except for some well-known things, Yizan didn't know many secrets about cultivation. After a while, the system responded, Host, please explore on your own. Some of the host's props have changed, please check. Yizan heard this and immediately checked the props. Then, his expression changed again, and his practice progress card was weakened as his strength increased. The progress card that could originally increase the progress of practice by 5% can only increase the progress by 2% each time due to the improvement of Yizan's talent. Moreover, the restrictions are the same as before. You can only use the practice progress card once in the range of 1 to 10 or 11 to 20. This system really doesn't leave any loopholes for you to take advantage of. Originally, Yizan's training progress was already quite good, and his ability development reached 24%. Now with the improvement of his talent, he can recover with one move. Until liberation. But having said that, although Yizan's ability development level has become lower, he can feel that his body is filled with some kind of explosive power, which is no worse than before. This heavenly tyrant body is indeed quite powerful, and it deserves to be as famous as the ancient holy body. It's a pity that Yizan's ability development is still too low now, and he is still unable to use his 9 divine forms. According to Yizan's understanding of his own physique, for every 10 points of Kangtian Hegemon's ability development, he will randomly obtain a divine form other than the ancestral form. The ancestral form is the most powerful existence among the 9 divine forms and must be the last to be obtained. The Kangtian tyrant body is the same as the dragon elephant prison suppressing body. Every time the ability increases by 10%, there will be a big improvement. Yizan has always been envious of the fire beast above Su Mengli's red lotus. When his own abilities are developed, he can also have various divine forms. Of course, from this point, we can also see the difference between Kang Tian Ba Ti and Yi Huo Hong Lian. At least below 10%, Yi Zan can't use any divine forms, but Su Mengli's ability development rate is only a few percent, and he can already control various divine beasts formed by flames to attack. It is a good thing to improve talents, but at the same time, his own ability development has dropped so much, which makes Yi Zan a little curious about the talent gap between different levels. In his previous life, as the lowest awakened person, he knew too little about these things, so he decided to search the forum about the division of talent levels. Afterwards, Yi Zan opened the awakened forum and rummaged through it, ignoring the advertisements and promotional posts. After rummaging for more than 10 minutes, Yi Zan finally found something useful. This is a post about the strength division of awakened people. This post has been officially refined, and it obviously makes sense. I, Bai Xiaosheng, am one of the first self-awakened people. So far, I have come into contact with thousands of awakened people. I have sorted out the abilities of awakened people at various levels. Today I will give you a ranking of all awakened people. First, let's talk about D-level ability awakeners. Awakeners at this level are also called semi-awakened ones. If an awakened person of this level awakens physical abilities, their strength cannot even reach the limit of an ordinary human body. If it is an awakened elemental ability, such as a fire ability, it would be difficult to light the flames, so the awakened ones at this stage can be ignored. Next are C-level ability users, whose abilities are developed to 100% and can exceed the limits of the human body. They can still play their own role even in the face of alien beasts. They are called warrior level. B-level ability users are the mainstream level of awakened people of Zhonghu sect and the mainstay of awakened people. They are numerous and can exert extremely powerful effects. A B-level ability user's ability development reaches 30%, which is equivalent to the C-level limit. If his ability development reaches 100%, he is a warrior level person. A-level ability users are currently the elites selected from Daxia High School students by major awakening colleges. They will be the mainstay of awakenings in the next 10 or 20 years. An A-level ability user's development rate reaches 30%, which is equivalent to the B-level limit. A person's ability development rate reaches 100%, which is the Battle King level. From S level and above, the number of awakened people has been greatly reduced. They can be called elites and cores everywhere. Each level is about 3 times stronger than the previous level. S level to SSS level, whose abilities are developed to the limit, are named City Defense level, Country Protection level and Savior level respectively. Yi Zan made a comparison. Before, he had an S-level development level of more than 20%. By comparison, it should be roughly equivalent to an A-level ability user with an ability development level of about 80%, barely close to the War King level. Of course, Yi Zan also has various other methods and trump cards, such as the Mighty Tianlong, the 8-Gate Dunjia, etc. With these trump cards, it is not wrong to say that Yi Zan is a battle king. Later, Yi Zan scrolled down to see if everyone agreed with the ranking of this so-called Bai Xiaosheng. And the first reply was, City Destroying Level, Nation Destroying Level, World Destroying Level. Are all these S-level awakened beings here to destroy cities, countries, and worlds? Yi Zan looked at it and was stunned for a moment. Then he understood that from S level to SSS level, Bai Xiaosheng initially called it the 3 levels of destroying the city, subjugating the country, and destroying the world to reflect these 3 levels of terror, of destructive power. It's a pity that these 3 names are too ugly. Bai Xiaosheng must have been warned by the officials, so he changed them to the 3 levels of city defense, country protection, and world salvation. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.